Hello, listening people.
Hello!
Oh, you're very jovial.
Oh.
And I'm Ryan. That's jovial, and I'm Ryan.
I'm jovial.
You're listening to Spin Polish Presents with me, Ryan Sliwinski, and
Bartek jovial.
Bartek Jovial. And as you could tell, we're called Spin Polish, likingly because we're always spitting, and we both happen to be Polish.
And we both happen to be Polish.
Isn't that right, Jovial? The most Polish last name ever.
Please, Jovial is my father. Call me Bartek.
So, you're listening to Spin Polish Presents Unappreciated Masterpieces. On Unappreciated Masterpieces, what Bartek and I try to do is we select a movie that we feel needs to be appreciated more. A movie that has been left out of the limelight. One that was in the eye of the public, not completely forgotten, but not completely remembered either. Those movies that when we say the title, you're like, yeah, I remember that, and you may or may not have seen it. But we have seen them, and we feel like these movies need to be talked about. They need to be discussed. They needed to be analyzed because at the end of the day, someone made this movie. A group of people spent moments of their lives that they'll never get back. Minutes, days, years.
Seconds, even.
Yeah, thank you. And they spent time on something that we have just taken for granted. And I feel like we owe them, the creators, a service to talk about these movies.
Yeah, who better than him and me?
Who better than two Polish people, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, so, Bartek, that's what we do.
Yeah.
But we have to talk about a movie in this episode, and if the people haven't obviously read the title of the episode for this one, what is the movie we're watching? Because I don't know.
The movie we're watching today, look, the name of the movie that we're watching today is The Green Hornet 3D.
Now, I don't speak Italian, but I feel like you were trying to be Polish there. Yeah. I don't know. Could it be...
Should I say it again just to give you like...
Yeah, definitely. I don't speak Polish or Italian, so I don't know.
The Green Hornet 3D.
Well, I definitely got the 2D part. That's clear as a bell.
Yeah.
Something about...
Should I give you another hint?
Yeah, if you could draw a Pictionary
yeah, okay,
me.
so...
It's hope.
So, picture this in your head. Buzz, but it's green.
Oh, the green bee!
Yeah, so close. What's another word for bee?
Wasp!
What's a similar thing?
Bumble,
close, but it's like a horn, you know, and it...
The Green Hornet? We're watching a porn parody!
Oh, are we?
I hope so. It's got...
Can we start the episode already?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, it's Green Hornet.
Oh, the Green Hornet, the 2009 classic? 11. Oh, that's right. Yes, 11. I got confused for this reasoning. I listened to the audio commentary and it was recorded in the mid of 2010.
Okay.
So we'll get back into that. But we don't
I thought you were going to make like a 9/11 joke.
No, that's insensitive. So we are going to talk about the Green Hornet with Seth Rogen
and the Asian
and Chou.
Chou, yeah.
You racist. And of course, let's not forget Christoph Waltz. But you know who else is involved in the Green Hornet? Our guest today. Oh yeah, that was a good segue. I'm very proud.
Yeah.
You know, pride's a sin, but you know, I'm still proud.
Ryan, I'm going to introduce the guest.
Yeah, go on.
Glad you know this. Ladies and gentlemen, making his first time ever debut. Not that you can ever do a second one, am I right, Ryan? Because debut.
Unless we lost the episode.
That is true.
Like Alistair.
Should we say a prayer for Alistair?
No, if you want to listen to a half an episode, listen to our 26 minutes of Like Mike. But let's go into the now. Who's the guest? You're introducing.
Guys, we got him with us today. We got JT himself, Jonathan Tropiano.
Yep.
Hello, Jonathan Tropiano. Tropiano, is that Polish too?
That's Italian.
Oh, again, we don't have a Polish guest. We've never had a Polish guest.
Except Oliver, but you know.
Oliver wasn't really Polish, though, was he?
Are you really Polish?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
My name's Sliwinski, for Christ's sakes. So, Jonathan, as I've been told, you like to go by Jono.
Well, yeah.
I'm going to call you Jono.
Okay.
For some reason, when prepping for today's podcast, I kept going in my mind, oh, who's the guest? Who's the guest? Jono. And I just couldn't keep remembering Jono until I put on, like, an accent. And I'm like, I was just like, oh, I can't wait for Jono to be here. Oh, and I was saying to my girlfriend, I'm like, she's like, who's the guest? I'm like, it's Jono.
If you're really Polish, you'd pronounce the J with like a Y sound, so it'd be
It's
like,
Jono, yeah.
Jono.
But I wasn't doing it. I just kept saying like, oh boys, it's Jono here. He's in the house. So we're joined with Jono. We're joined with Bartek. We're joined with Ryan. We're joined with you. And we're all joined by the magical glue that is the cinematic classic, The Green Hornet. So get your copy prepared, because I imagine you all have a copy of The Green Hornet with Seth Rogen and Chou and Christoph Waltz, and it's going to be a magical thrill ride adventure, because we are going to start talking about this movie. We're going to dig deep into the forgotten gem of the Seth Rogen treasure chest. That's right. Get yourself prepared, because we're going to start this in 3, 2, 1, play.
Yeah.
So, this is the Green Hornet, everyone. Now, Jono, you're a first-time guest. Have you ever seen the Green Hornet before having to do this show?
No, actually. I remember it coming out.
Do you feel ashamed?
Kind of, actually. After watching
you
it.
should. So, you didn't see it the first time?
No.
And
When it came out, no. I thought, this looks weird.
This is an original film. An original film based on a TV show, based on a radio series. It's an original film.
I know, yeah.
So, you didn't see it. What stopped you the first time? Are you not a Seth Rogen fan?
At the time, no, actually. I looked at it, I'm like,
And now you are?
yeah, generally. I like his films.
You don't sound too excited. I mean, here's a questioning part of the real questions of being questioning. Lots of questions. You didn't like Seth Rogen when he was at the height of Seth Rogen? This is like the height of Seth Rogen. I mean, this is like the peak of Seth Rogen. I mean, I know he's got Sausage Party, which I can't wait to talk about, by the way, because this is involved.
Oh, God, that...
But you didn't like Seth Rogen at his height? You're one of those guys, aren't you? Where you're like, I like them when they've already peaked.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
when they've gone from top to humble.
Yeah, when they've gone from hip to stir. So, you didn't see it the first time. Did you know what it was about?
I knew it was about crime fighting, and that's all I went off.
So, you didn't know it was based on a property of the same name?
No, I didn't.
So, you didn't know that Kato was originally played by Bruce Lee himself?
No. I thought this was something that a couple of dudes thought of when they were doing weed or...
You mean, you can say Seth Rogen?
Yeah.
You could. He is a writer on the movie.
Rogen.
You thought it was Pineapple Express with fighting.
Yes,
There is fighting in Pineapple
Yeah,
Express.
but I mean crime fighting.
Crime
I'm
fighting.
sorry.
Oh, well, there
Or
you go.
superhero crime fighting.
Yeah, so this is a caped crusader movie, because we can't even call it a superhero movie, because that implies they have powers, or that they have, like, an alien, like a super nemesis or whatever, but this is just a gangster movie, really.
Yeah. They've got super senses, but that's about it.
Kato has super sense. It
Well-
doesn't even, to be honest, when Kato Vision happened, I forgot, and was like, is Kato a robot built by the dad?
RoboCop. Or something like
He's
that.
a robotic cop.
Actually, more like a Terminator, right? 'Cause he's
Yeah,
got
I
the
thought
red-
it was like Terminator mixed with Predator.
Right.
So, you didn't see it the first time. Shame on you. What about you, Bartek?
I saw it in cinemas back in 2011.
Was it a magical experience?
It was, but it was, but it was that time where, I was still not really in tune with the whole unappreciated masterpiece, majesty concept. So it was a movie that I walked out being like, yeah, I enjoyed that. Other people don't seem to. I guess that's just the way life is, but I know now that we shouldn't accept that.
That's true. And you know, what's great is that I seen it too. Not at the cinema though. I bought it on DVD. I said to myself, it was a magical experience for me, this movie, actually. It's very personal to me, because it is kind of a symbol of my transition from being at home as a teenager to moving out of home to the city, living by myself. It was one of the first movies I bought on DVD when living out of home because I saw it and I was like, oh, it's $8. I like Seth Rogen. I like action. Maybe I'll like this. And, I haven't watched it since the first viewing until for doing this episode.
So that was 2012?
That was 2012.
Yep.
And it's held a very dear place in my heart because I'm a big fan of Christoph Waltz, big fan of Seth Rogen, big fan of Chou, obviously. I mean, who doesn't love Asian pop music? He's one of the sentimental guys. And James Franco is in this movie while we speak, who, isn't it funny, he looks more like the wizard in this than he does in Oz the Great and Powerful.
So, to make a joke, hey, I thought this was the Green Hornet, not the Green Goblin. Guess laugh, guys.
No, you should have said, I thought this was the Green Hornet, not the Emerald City.
Oh shit, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
You're a fucking idiot, Bartek. Even Jono knows you're an idiot. Get out of here.
Oh no, you got an accent.
Oh no, I've caught the case of the James Franco, because his accent's off the chain in this. Do you remember his accent's all over the place? At moments he's James Franco, and then other moments he's like, yeah, see, my name's Johnny Clear because I'm clear like meth. I deal meth. Yeah, see. And then other moments he's just that's literally his performance.
Yeah.
And then another moment he's just like, please don't hurt me. And then other moments, he's James Franco, where it's just like, hey, man, calm down, Christoph Waltz, I'm a gangster. And then he's doing all those three, where it's like, hey, I'm a gangster, man, so you know what I'm saying? He mixes it all together. It's a fine... This is a reason why he needs to win an Oscar, because he can mix three completely separate characters and sew them into a fine web for just one scene.
Yes. But speaking of winning an Oscar, Christoph Waltz...
He needed to win an Oscar to really redeem himself. The thing is, I love Christoph Waltz. He's one of those charismatic actors, but the problem with Christoph Waltz is, let's be 100% honest with ourselves. Outside of Tarantino movies, is he that good? I think the answer is yes.
In this movie, definitely.
Well, he's a saving grace of the movie. And not to say that's a negative thing. The whole movie works, but there's always one thing in the pile that shines more than others. It's Christoph Waltz.
Jono, are you familiar with Christoph Waltz?
All I will say is that he constantly looks like a Bond villain.
He is a Bond villain.
Well, before that, even still.
Oh yeah, well,
even when I looked at it, I'm just like,
that's
this guy. I can imagine this guy being a Bond villain, and I was right.
Well, yeah, he was obviously in Inglourious Bastards as the Jew Hunter, obviously, and then Django. I love how you laugh. That's his title.
I just never saw that bit.
You missed out on the greatest Christoph Waltz performance. He literally opens the movie by going to this French guy's house. They're hiding Jews underneath the floorboards, and he's asking about milk. Like, he's more concerned about milk than exterminating Jews. And then he has this whole giant conversation about how his pipe's bigger than that guy's pipe. It's great. He's in Django, of course, Django Unchained, as King Schultz.
Which he did win an Oscar for.
He won an Oscar for every Tarantino, which is 2.
Yeah.
He's the only actor in a Tarantino movie to win an Oscar. Twice. And then, you get the joy of Christoph Waltz being villainous and everything. Water for Elephants, the new Tarzan movie, James Bond, the Green Hornet. It's marvelous. Butts are in this movie as well. Okay, 100% honest with you. I did not realize that all of these shots were actually Seth Rogen, because I thought, because some of them, because he's lost a lot of weight for this movie, right? I actually thought some of the shots, not the so obvious ones, were Paul Rudd. I'm like, is it like you're going to set up that he has a wingman and it's Paul Rudd because it's already got James Franco in this movie? Why wouldn't Paul Rudd be next? And then I was really disappointed to find out it was just Seth Rogen.
So we kind of, when we were talking about our histories of the movie, we kind of skipped over the whole introduction sequence where it was set like 20-something years ago.
Oh, where he was a kid and his dad literally ripped the head off not Superman?
Not Superman. I personally thought it was like a mix between Superman and Scuba Steve from Big Daddy.
Well, you're clearly wrong. Bartek, if you are a fan of the show, which I assume you are, he is obviously the captain from Kangaroo Jack. that the young character, the young version of the main character had a compass of,
Oh,
and he lost it in the ocean and nearly drowned trying to get. Clearly, Bartek is not up to date with Unappreciated Masterpieces.
damn it! I forgot about episode 3.
Jono has only been here for like 15 minutes and he knows more about this show, and he hasn't even listened to the show before. I mean, you know, he's speechless by your negligence. Isn't that right, Jono?
Pretty much, yeah.
He's speechless. Speechless. It's his birthday today. Happy birthday, Jono. He is 24 years of age and he is watching The Green Hornet. Now, Jono, you've watched it for the first time. This is technically a second time.
Technically, yeah.
We are watching this silent with subtitles, of course, to keep interested enough to talk and watch at the same time. Jono, watching this the second time with no sound, have you noticed the brilliance of the movie? Have you noticed the layers and the foreshadowing and just the general kind of, well, like I said, brilliance?
I've just noticed like how well set up everything is for what are they
Mise en
called?
scene?
Climax?
Yeah, the climax pretty much.
Climax.
Yeah, they really set up the dad being alive.
Yeah, pretty much.
And can you believe how at the end of the movie you find out the dad was a good person all along?
I actually thought, would it be a plot twist if his dad was actually like a Holocaust denier?
Oh,
You know, he may as well be.
So he ripped off the head of a toy.
Yeah.
You know what I got out of this? You know, this is my problem. I think this is a weakness of the movie because it's a strength as well. It follows the tropes and conventions of typical Hollywood cinema, especially these type of movies where the dad, you know, a parent has to die for the hero to be born. Yes. But where it falls apart but is a strength is the fact that the dad is an asshole to this guy's entire life, and then he dies, and he learns that his dad was actually a stand-up guy, and that makes his dad a good guy. Well, no, he was still horrible to you. Like, if anything, the movie already sets up in this universe, he is a stand-up guy. At the end of the movie, it just basically stated, yeah, he was an asshole, but guess what? He was a stand-up guy. And then the character development is Seth Rogen realizes he was a stand-up guy too. But he was still like the worst father ever.
Alright.
Like, there's no redeeming part of him as a dad.
Digital Underground.
It was, what was DJ Underground?
Digital Underground.
Digital Underground. Oh yeah, they were in nothing but trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, but no, Ryan, you're not seeing the main picture.
The big picture.
He was already a good guy, but then you find out that he was taking bribes, but he didn't want to. So he's an even better
so he
guy.
wouldn't have gone to prison at all.
So he's an excellent guy. Isn't that right, Jono?
yeah, pretty much.
I mean, I bribe Jono all the time, and he doesn't want it, but I force it on him. So therefore, he's a great guy.
That's cold. Yeah, that's called lots of things.
Yeah.
So, Jono, you saw this. What was your feelings on it, having watched it the first time round? Did you enjoy it thoroughly? What did you take away from this movie?
I generally thought it was actually pretty good. I was surprised how good it was. I just had this conceived notion that it was shit and everything like that. And
No, that's a problem with Hollywood, and general the way we are desensitized to what could be considered mediocrity. You know, we consider a movie that think when this movie came out, it's a very interesting time for cinema, especially for what this is trying to do, because this is when Marvel was in its footsteps of controlling all of the Hollywood landscape. Because basically, let's look at the Hollywood landscape. Every movie's a superhero movie thanks to Marvel. I don't care, you DC guys are being like, Christopher Nolan's Batman. No, fuck you, it was Iron Man. We all know that's the truth. So, fuck you.
So, Jono, are you a Marvel guy or a DC guy?
And then he goes, I'm a Dark Horse guy.
I'm DC, but I'm honestly going to keep quiet.
But no, you know what I mean? In
Around
terms,
that,
in
I'm just gonna
terms of the cinematic landscape, the Hollywood cinematic landscape has been forged by the Marvel.
Marvel set up the universe, the cinematic kind of universe that everyone's trying to get.
But
now.
also the tone.
Yeah, sort of the tone, like.
Because the Christopher Nolan Batman movies
were dark. They were just like.
Yeah, they were cool, but in this thing, they also stand, like, for me, they kind of stand separate from the superheroes movies in general, because they're more artistic.
Doesn't forget that there's humor in superheroes.
Exactly.
This one doesn't. There's darkness, but there's not too much. It doesn't. It just goes in and
And
out.
there's a plot,
Yeah, there's a plot.
unlike the current DC movies.
Yeah, and it's easy to follow. Whereas you could just go to unravel. It's like trying to unravel string or
But
headphones.
unlike a Marvel movie, see, this is where this meets a perfect balance. See, this was this came out at the wrong time. Marvel had just got their foot placed. They were working up to the Avengers. Yeah?
Yeah, this was like a year before, I think.
Year before, but people were too pumped about the Avengers. Who wants to watch a movie with Seth Rogen as the Green Hornet when you'd rather see Captain America punch Red Skull or like, you know, or see Dark Knight Rises, or all these bigly anticipated movies are leading up to bigger movies. This is just a one-shot movie. Like, you know, it could have been a sequel. I'm still waiting on a sequel.
Mm-hmm.
This was just a really odd time for the Green Hornet to be. It's an unfortunate time, but maybe, you know, like with all cult classics, we go back and look at them. Because this is considered mediocre when you got the standards of the current landscape then and the current landscape of superhero movies, in which they somehow managed to tell an interesting story with likable characters and set up 15 movies at the same time. You know, like, I don't care if you're a Marvel fan or a DC fan. Both of the Marvel and DC movies are doing that. That's their thing. They're trying to have an interesting plot with several interesting characters while setting up several interesting plot points for future movies.
Could I ask you guys a question about a movie you've seen that I haven't?
Yes.
I want to ask something about Deadpool, the recent
yeah.
movie. So that obviously the whole idea of that is that he breaks the fourth wall and stuff like that. Does he also play with like superhero tropes?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
A lot. Yeah.
All the time.
So do you think that maybe
Seth Rogen should have rocked up as the
Yeah.
Green Hornet?
that, or do you think that maybe that more on the topic of the movie that movie was inspired by this movie, The Green Hornet?
Well, it's very hard to say. You know, it kind of does because
Yeah.
it uses the funky soundtrack of this movie a
Yeah.
lot. It has a comedic lead actor as the hero, of course. Seth Rogen and Ryan Reynolds are both comedic actors. And it is fourth wall breaking. This less so, obviously, but you know, this is
Well, I wasn't really talking about the fourth wall, more like the playing with tropes. Like, there's a point not too long from now where Seth Rogen has this whole speech to Kato about how, you know, a hero's weakness is their loved ones, and people will attack those, so they should not have a loved ones. They should appear like villains, so that they have that defense.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. So Deadpool got inspired by Green Hornet. How do you feel, Jono?
I'll take it. Yeah.
You can see where I'm going with this. Yeah.
Like always, he'll take anything from you, Bartek. If you give
I'll
it
take
to him.
anything.
He'll take all of it.
Good, because you know what will happen to your family if you don't, right?
Yeah.
What happened to Seth Rogen's bee stings?
Bee stings.
Fucking hell. I'm gonna be honest though. That's a weakness of this movie. Uncle Ben got shot. His dad just got stung by a bee. But then we find out, oh, but Jono, it's not a bee. It's not a bee, but an evil DA Harvey Dent kind of guy.
Yeah, pretty much.
Now, the best part of this movie-going experience, guys, is I own this on DVD.
Yeah.
So I listened to this with the audio commentary like I mentioned earlier.
Ooh.
But even better is the gag reel. Now, the gag reel in movies like this, with Seth Rogen, you expect it to be during the credits. But no, this is trying to take itself as a serious superhero comedy. So it's not doing that.
So it's like an outtakes
Yeah.
feature on the DVD.
Yeah, and it's the best part of it is, guys, the DA. There's a bit in the movie, I'll point it out when it does come, but it's like him, and now Bartek, I know you would love this because you've talked about it many times on the show, being an extra and having to pretend to say stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the DA is giving a speech in a flashback sequence, giving the speech, and the camera's panning out and then panning in, and it's all this. In the gag reel, you're actually hearing what he says, which is basically, "Hi, I'm such and such actor, and I'm playing D.A. Scanlon. The writers thought it was a wise idea for me to give a speech, but even wiser that they didn't actually write me a speech. So I'm going to stand here and pretend that I'm saying something just so it looks visually interesting. Hey, I'll share a dark secret with you that's from my childhood that still haunts me today. When I was a young boy, I liked to wear women's clothing. I still like to wear them now." And it just keeps going. It just keeps going, and then he like cuts to another funny gag reel. I'm like, that's like the best part.
Oh my.
I can definitely appreciate that.
And I imagine, Bartek, that's something you would do. So Bartek, are you a fan of the original property of the Green Hornet?
I'm not really familiar with the original property. I did do some reading about it last night. Apparently, at least whatever was around in the 50s or 60s, they had a cameo on the Adam West Batman show.
Yes, everyone had. That everyone was on the Addams Family.
So
everyone.
the Adams West Batman was. Did you say Adam Family?
The Addams Family were on there, and
right.
everyone was on there.
So it was like the used bicycle of the 60s, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, Adam West was the bicycle of the 60s.
Poor Adam.
But you never saw the original.
No, I didn't.
Well, the original, only one season, might I add, I do believe, or 1 year at least. It's very important in the landscape of cinema and TV because it's kind of the thing that Bruce Lee appeared in for Americans. And then he did all of his movies that obviously got him acclaim, but it was one of his first attempts to make it in America, to do something recognizable in America. And in the show did not go on to be a success. But it is a legacy of Bruce Lee. It is that thing where people will point to the Green Hornet and go, Kato, that's Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee is Kato. But with this movie, Jay Chou does an amazing job, I think. I'm very disappointed to learn that he has not gone on to do much more acting. He's more of a singer. And his English is not the greatest, but I understood everything he said in this movie. I think he has a charm and a personality that could carry on into bigger, better movies.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me a bit of Jackie Chan.
It kind of reminds me of a friend of ours, Kian.
Yeah, good on Kian.
who has this innocence that Kato has in this movie. That's the thing. How do you feel, guys, about having a movie in which the dynamic is Batman and Robin kind of dynamic, in which the rich, powerful, billionaire, whatever, dressing up as a superhero with his young boy sidekick kind of stuff. In this dynamic, though, with what we like to joke about Batman and Robin, where, there's the jokes where Batman's a dick to Robin and all that. In this movie, he's actually a dick to Kato. And how do you feel about that? He's even racist towards Kato at times. He calls Kato out on his bullshit when he does give bullshit. He treats him like a servant. He keeps saying, you're not a hero, you're just my sidekick. I'm more important than you. And he doesn't really learn much other than getting punched in the face by Kato and goes, that's a transition to be a good person. How do you guys feel about the dynamic of Kato and the Green Hornet?
You want to go first, Jono, or shall I?
You go first.
So, on the surface, I guess the audience reaction would be to feel more sorry for Kato because he's not being treated with the respect he deserves. But when you really think about it, you have to feel a lot of sympathy, maybe even empathy, for Britt Reed, for Seth Rogen's character, because it's very clear after the first time they've gone out and beat up people together, quotes, that he's got this kind of delusion going that he is this great person, that he is the one holding the team together, even though it's very clearly Kato who's done basically everything except come up with the idea of ejector seats. You know that eventually...
That saves him later.
Yeah, that's true. And he admits that it was a good idea. You know that eventually there is going to be that point where he realizes that he was wrong, that he wasn't the glue, that he was only one member of the team. So keeping that in mind, and this is the brilliant thing about it being not meta, but playing with the tropes of the superhero movie, you know that that's going to happen, and the longer it takes to get there, the more you know it's going to impact him.
It impacted me as a viewer. It impacted me like that head on the ground. That's a good one for the people who are watching this whilst listening, but you guys who aren't listening, watching while listening, you guys suck it up.
Wasn't there a cartoon back in the 90s where a head got ripped off of a statue?
I do believe it was The Simpsons.
What's that about?
Jono, what's
The Simpsons about?
What are The Simpsons? So, Jono, what is your feeling on the dynamic that they create here between our two heroes? But you saying being a DC fan, you would understand.
Well, like I said, I
dynamics.
wasn't familiar with the Green Hornet. I only found out until Bartek told me. But
good way to find out.
yeah, but
He
generally,
forced it on you.
yeah, pretty much.
After I was getting some money off him.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
No,
You
after I was
slipped in
getting money off you,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's right.
But No, Bartek was right when he said Seth Reed has like this delusional fantasy that like he's like the hero and he's holding everything together. But generally speaking, like you can understand why he feels like that because his dad ripped like a toy.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
when I get
Yeah.
my toy head ripped off, I become a vigilante too.
Pretty much.
Well, Jono's absolutely right because when you're a kid, what else do you have?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know, a mansion, a pool, maids,
Ryan.
cars. I mean, he was rich.
Okay, look, Ryan. Like, I'll go step by step. Mansion doesn't have a head. Pool doesn't have a head. Maids have head, but that's going to be a crime.
Pools. Oh, thank you, Bartek, for that. So, here's the first time we get Kato Vision, and a first real taste of what action is going to be like in this movie. And, action today has been getting more appreciation in terms of filmmaking thanks to movies like John Wick and Mad Max, where it's showing us how action is done right. This action, I do believe, according to the commentary, was directed, choreographed, at least some of it, by the guy who does the Bourne movies.
Okay.
And that really does show through.
yeah.
I think the scene they point out is the one where Seth Rogen and him fight in the house. And what I like about the action in this movie is it plays around with film conventions, like we just saw with the multiple car effects, but it has that Bourne feel, that John Wick feel, that Mad Max feel, which is every object, and the Jackie Chan feel, that every object is going to be used. Every object is set up. So if they're going to fight in a pool room, they're going to use the pool table and the bowls and the cues and all that. Or if there's a foosball table, they're going to use that for a comedic effect. That was a great moment. And if there's a motorbike, they're going to ride it at each other. And if there's a pool, they're going to get in the pool in the fight. That's the cool thing about this movie is that the action is not sloppy.
So what Jono mentioned earlier, a couple of minutes ago, mise-en-scene being important.
It is important, Jono. Yeah, Jono. Do you remember that James Franco movie called Runner?
I remember the
In which he
name.
was like, I can't remember. I think I get it confused with Spring Breakers because at the same time, and I think it's like the one where he's like doing drug running. He's running drugs, and I feel like James Franco's character from that movie and this movie are the same character. Wouldn't it be great if there was a movie called Jono, in which it's a movie about Jono trying to run away from
Someone
you?
will make it. Someone will make it.
I'll make it.
One of you two will make it.
I'll be
You
like,
can- you
and
can
it's like
hire-
done like Runner. It's like,
Yeah.
and it's Bartek running after you, like Tom Hanks does Leonardo DiCaprio in Catch Me If You Can. Catch Me If You Jono.
You can commission a Stark Reality to do it.
Oh no. So, Seth Rogen, I already forgot his name, Jay Chou. A great comedic duo, I think. I would actually, outside of another Green Hornet movie, I'd actually watch a movie with these two guys. I like their chemistry. I know
Yeah.
they've got a standoffish chemistry throughout this movie, but when there's a scene where Jay Chou says that you're my brother, whatever the word was, the chemistry really radiates from the both of them. I really believe it.
Yeah, it's like you weren't exactly expecting him to say that, but when he said it, it was like, oh, that was genuine. It felt spontaneous, and I actually believe you. I guess it's kind of like that. Can we call it an Asian sincerity?
I
tone?
guess you could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
It's a Kato sincerity. So, Jono, Kato is called Kato. He has no superhero name, and it is a plot point of the movie at the end that they're like, why am I just Kato? Like, why can't we come up with
Yeah.
cool name? What's your name for Kato? If you had to come up with a name for him as a superhero, what would your Kato super alias be?
Oh god. I'm not sure.
Come on. Think of one. I'll let Bartek and myself go, but you're going to think of one. This is what being a guest on this show is. Being spontaneously asked to think of something great on the spot. Bartek. Watch Bartek. He's going to show us how to do it. What's Kato's superhero name?
Honey. Because he's got it with a B, so he's Honey.
They did make a joke about him being called the honeypot.
But just Honey.
Just honey?
Or just the honeybee.
Look,
Would that be
When
one?
you...
The honeybee, yeah. He could actually be the
actually like
green
that one.
bee.
No, but look, Honey. honey pot, that's a very specific, device man-made.
And it could be a great joke. It's like on Blackadder where they call the guy's name's Darling. You could have so many jokes with him just being called Honey. He was like, Honey, I'm home. And he's just like, shut up.
He's like with his girlfriend. It's like, stop it, I'm with my girlfriend.
Honey. And he's like, shut up. And then, that's actually a great title. Honey. I was thinking of something like, wouldn't it be weird if in the sequel his name was Bludnovsky because he killed... No, Seth Rogen killed Bludnovsky, didn't he? No, James Chow. I mean, Jay Chow stabbed him in the eyes.
Yeah, but whoever made the car go forward would be the killer.
No, that's of the attorney.
Oh, I'm sorry, that was the attorney. You're right.
Bludnovsky, who we haven't even talked about.
No, we haven't. And
we won't. That's the point of Unappreciated Masterpieces. We only talk about the elements that don't work.
We talked about Krzysztof Waltz already, so...
Yep, I guess that's Polish. I don't speak
Polish.
I speak Jono. I am Jono.
Yeah.
So, I think I would have come up with a name. Like, wouldn't it be weird in the second one, he's like, I am Bludnovsky. It's like, why? I take the name of my victims because he kills so many people in this movie. Kato at the end. This is why I think this movie also, it was a this is also how to help Deadpool. It has this dark sense of humor, which is Deadpool kills people and there's no moral questioning and brooding about it. They don't even address it a lot of the time. In this movie, the same. What does Kato do to solve the movie? He's like, Seth Rogen's like, I didn't get the recording. It wasn't recording, so D.A. Scanlon's scot-free. Kato's like, don't worry. He literally is like, don't worry. I've got this. And just turns the car around and murders him. Yeah. His solution was murder. And then they eject his seat out and go, ha ha ha. And then it literally ends with, D.A. Scanlon died. That sort of stuff happens. Oh well. This moves on.
So... Just to summarize that, he goes, oh well, plan B, then does plan B.
Yeah. But Kato he shoots a guy, mainly to save Seth Rogen. But, he kills so many people. Kato is, in fact, and James Franco kills, not James Franco, Seth Rogen.
His pal.
Kills people too. So many people get murdered. He killed... Christoph Waltz gets killed. My favorite character, Chili, dies. With his good friend, Popeye. Remember Popeye?
Yeah.
So, in this film, there's many funny moments. We laugh at a lot of things, but the funniest moment is Jono telling us his superhero name for Kato, because I'm not letting you go, Jono.
I just said, wasn't it Honeybee?
Honeybee. Oh, you're lame. I'm just going to call him Jono.
Or just a third wheel or something like that.
His superhero name is your name. Yeah. And because he has a name, my favorite part of the movie, actually, is when you see Kato at home, and he's watching the TV, and he has a martial arts trophy, and it just says Kato. He doesn't have a last name. So if anything, wouldn't it be great if his superhero name is a normal name, like Jono, and his alias name and his real alias name is Kato the Great.
You know what I really love? We're talking about coming up with names in the scene where they're coming up with a name.
Well, I'm better than the green trench coat guy. Good one. Wouldn't that be fucking genius? Whoever got him as a journalist must have been really proud the day they hired that one.
I was a bit surprised in this scene because I thought it was going for a different kind of joke. The joke where a character gives an idea, and then, much like the first Blackadder, the main character goes, wait, no, I have an idea, and then says that idea and takes the credit for it.
No.
But they didn't.
Because later on, you find out that Kato does not like being, lesser, to the point in which he has a psychotic breakdown about it out of nowhere. So, fun fact, guys, there were many other people for the role of Kato, and one of them was James Chou, who is the director of a cinematic classic, Kung Fu Hustle.
Okay.
Which I love. It is a movie in which I will argue any little person down.
Jono, there was a guy at our university who, when we were doing our show at the end of our drama course, we had to pitch the idea and talk about the kind of things we want in it. Part of our idea was that we wanted it to be about a film crew making a bad movie, and therefore there will be parts in our show where there'll be some
They're over the top.
bad acting, over the top thing.
Cartoony.
Yeah, and we listed some examples like The Room and Kung Fu Hustle, and one of the people we were pitching it to had a really big thing about why Kung Fu Hustle is not a good idea. Or like
He's like, you can't compare anything to Kung Fu. Like,
So,
Kung Fu
wait-
Hustle's not over the top. It's like a cinematic classic. I'm like, it's literally mixing live action with Looney Tunes.
So Ryan had this whole comeback about why he was wrong about Kung Fu Hustle, and that silenced him. And
Talking about comeback, it's Cameron Diaz.
the whole room was
Yeah.
just in amazement. And yes, Cameron Diaz is back.
It is our favorite honeypot, Cameron Diaz. So
No little girls this time, Ryan.
she's older than Seth Rogen in this movie, and James and Jay Chou. I find it cool that the love. She's not even a love interest, but she's played off as that for a little while, and she doesn't kiss either of them. She doesn't want none of their shit. She's like, I'm a strong, independent woman.
She straight up tells them that they could be gay for all she cares.
She really does straight up tell them
Yeah.
lots of shit. God, I miss Cameron Diaz. You know, watching Annie and this for the show, Cameron Diaz has a real charm and verb about her. She has a real kind of... She's just a warm presence. She's got that infectious smile that we're seeing right now on screen, you know? Like, she's just got something. And she's attractive, obviously, but she's just got a real... She comes across as a genuinely nice person, even when she's playing not nice people. And I think that's a rare thing to capture as an actor. To get that to beam through. It's very hard. And I think that's the strength of this movie, Jono. When you were watching that, did you not feel the strength of that?
Generally, I tend to actually think Cameron Diaz is better in roles that are just where she's nice, because she's naturally, in her face, she's naturally a nice person. She seems like she's quite energetic and stuff like that.
Yeah, and did you think she was nice in this movie?
Yeah, as well, especially like in the scenes where she like was so when Seth Rogen came to like explain that he needs her help and everything like that. Especially when he's gotten shot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was hilarious. I just thought, oh my.
So we have Black Annie behind our belts from
Blanny,
from like
Blanny.
2-3 months ago. Jono, before you saw this movie yesterday, I believe it was, when was the last time you saw Cameron Diaz in a movie?
Charlie's Angels, the first one.
Wow, you didn't
Yeah.
even see the cinematic classic The Other Woman?
No,
I didn't.
My sister has. She loved it.
You idiots! That's it, I'm out of this podcast. I can't host a show with a guy who hasn't seen every Cameron Diaz movie, especially The Other Woman. I mean, it's got Nicki Minaj in it.
Hello everyone, welcome to John and Polish Presents.
Featuring an angry Polish man in the background screaming about Nicki Minaj's acting debut classic, The Other Woman.
Ryan's our Statler and Waldorf.
I am just that ambient noise between gasps of rage.
You know who's better than Jono? Me! Oh, ho, 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 ho.
Was that your Kermit the Frog? Or I don't know what that was.
I don't know what that was either.
It wasn't by Kermit the Frog, it was freaking... I just said Statler and Waldorf.
I think it was his fuzzy bear. That was a bit
Probably,
awkward.
yeah.
He doesn't get... Oh, I love his Bartek's looking genuinely shocked. He doesn't realise that we are being the Statler and Waldorf of his Statler and Waldorf. We don't have to do the voice.
I do not approve of this!
Do not make fun of Cameron Diaz's voice. She has a very sensual and squeaky voice. She is a feminist in this movie because she is not kissing any of the boys. This is a movie in which Marvel and DC could learn from. If you said to me, Jono, that she was going to play Wonder Woman's sister, I'd believe you because she's a strong woman.
She would be the better sister.
How good would it be instead of making, like, people are anticipating Wonder Woman, the movie, right? Because it'll be like, oh, well, the first big female superheroes as well. Wouldn't it be great if it's actually like a marketing ploy and it's actually about her sister?
Yeah. Oh, that'd be so fun.
It's like Wonder Woman's barely in the movie and it's just like, why are we hanging out with Cameron Diaz? I don't know why we're hanging out with Cameron in this movie.
Completely undermined.
Where's Gal Gadot? We want to know if she's a genuinely good actress or not because she was in too little of Batman v Superman for us to actually properly judge.
So hold on.
Yeah.
Wonder Woman is a Greek goddess, right?
Yes.
She is.
Yeah.
With an Amazonian-esque kind of thing going on.
Does that Greek goddess happen to have a sister?
Technically, they're all sisters. They're like
They're all sisters.
Yeah, they're
Okay.
technically all sisters.
Also, it could be a whole movie about the sisters.
It could be called MILF Island.
They could make like Bridesmaids or something with the sisters.
This week on MILF Island. No, that's a 30 Rock joke there. So, we are at the point in which there is still yet to be a plot. Kinda. They're kind of getting ready to be heroes, yeah?
They're just laying the groundwork for now.
They're laying the groundwork. Now let's talk about the villain. What was his name? Chudnovsky. I kept...
Chudnovsky.
Is that Polish?
Chanovsky.
Well, I mean,
It's not spelled with an I, so I don't think so.
that's actually a good point, Ryan. It's spelled with a Y. It might be
It's spelled with a Y.
It might be Russian, then, but given his accent, I'm not
He's
really sure.
German, clearly.
Have you listened to his accent? Did you pay attention to his accent in this movie?
It changes a lot.
At one point, he was Australian.
Well, that's the thing. Christoph Waltz, obviously, he speaks several languages. English is not even one of the higher ones. He's the thing about Christoph Waltz that makes him, like a lot of European actors that transition into Hollywood films, it makes him a villain, is because it's that thing with people who speak other languages, especially Europeans, because their vernacular is closer to the English language than say Jackie Chan is with English. They are very precise on their pronunciation of words, and that's what makes a lot of them villains.
I will admit, what you just said right there reminded me of Christoph Waltz.
That's all the charm of Christoph Waltz is he takes his time to tell you that he is going to fuck you. And that's what makes him intimidating. He's got this rhythm of a foreign person trying to maintain a menace, but also just really trying to speak English.
Johnny, you said before you didn't see Inglourious Bastards?
No.
Definitely check it out, because what Ryan just said right there, that's exactly his performance that won
His
him an Oscar.
performance is so good.
There's a bit in it where, I know we're talking about Green Hornet, but, without Inglourious Bastards, he wouldn't be in this movie. Because he was made for us in the West from Inglourious Bastards.
I guess it's kind of like Mads Mikkelsen.
Mikkelsen. From Mads Mikkelsen?
I think the D is silent, I'm not really sure, but basically
Nice.
in Denmark he plays all sorts of roles from a kindergarten teacher to a comedic guy
The
to
Hunt's great.
to a butcher. Oh, I love The Hunt. Like a butcher,
And then he
that
played a Bond villain.
butcher that kills people, but it's a comedy. And then in the West, when he's in films like Casino Royale, he plays and Hannibal, the TV show.
He's a villain.
He's a crazy villain.
Yeah, so it's because they're both both got that European sensibility, and with the vocal things that they have to do, they have to maintain the English language. They have to be very precise, and with that precision comes and their accent comes a weird rhythm that is intimidating as fuck. It's so Christoph Waltz is genuinely intimidating in this movie, as well as hilarious. Don't you think so, guys?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I'd say more hilarious rather than...
What about the moment where
You'd
he
upset him
kills?
from saying that, John.
What about the? What about?
Right?
It's genuinely I got that reference. It's genuinely intimidating when he actually kills John Connor in this movie. You know that, right?
Fair enough. Yeah.
No, you know that he kills John Connor in this movie, yeah? You know that, right?
What are you talking about?
Edward Furlong, who was John Connor in T2, Terminator 2, Judgment Day, is in it as the guy who runs the meth lab.
Oh, that guy, really?
That's John Connor.
I would
So
never have guessed
Christoph
that.
Waltz has actually killed the rest of the human race by killing our one piece of resistance.
I had no idea that was him.
Edward Furlong, yeah, it's him. So he is John Connor. He's a very troubled man in real life. He's very much like Macaulay Culkin. If you've got a favor, look them up. And Cameron Diaz, do me a favor. So there's that thing with Edward Furlong and Macaulay Culkin where they're child stars, lots of potential, great films, and they've just fallen apart. They're drug addicts, and
they
you
have
still
meth
see them,
labs.
and they have meth labs, and you see them in movies, and you're like, oh, that's kind of nice. You're like, oh, that's cool. They're trying to make it still. That's nice. And Edward Furlong is unrecognizable in this movie. I will be 100% honest with you, and I hope
you agree with me. I hope. I genuinely thought that character that Edward Furlong plays was an Asian man. Running in a, I thought he was like one of those Vietnamese guys, like you know those typical movie things where you see like an old Vietnamese guy and they're always like running the meth labs or like the things in movies, like you know there's always like the Asian sect of the gang, and since this guy actually runs every gang in LA, that's like my favorite part. Is Christoph Waltz is like, I run every gang in LA. I run all of them. How did he do that?
Well, it gets explained.
But he did that in like a week. Like D.A. Scanlon hasn't been around. It would be like, that would take like 25 years to be the leader of all of the gangs. All of them.
Well, I mean...
But it took him two weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
In that montage, I mean, they seem like there are only like half a dozen gangs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you know, there's that, you know, there's
Also,
lots of things.
Beanbags.
Well, it's non-lethal.
Yeah, I know, but this is like the one time
We see them? I was actually saying, wouldn't it be awkward at the end chase sequence? They're like, shoot the car! They have beanbags.
Well, that too, but also I think it's the only feature of this car that is non-lethal.
Excuse me? They
It's true.
have an airbag.
Oh, is that lethal?
No,
That can be
non-lethal.
lethal.
Yeah.
Can be, but usually it's non-lethal. It's
Yeah.
like how soccer's technically not a contact sport.
Actually, is...
He just killed that guy by just teabagging him.
Like the ultimate teabag.
His ultimate teabag is just, oh look, first death. Well, first of many. Like, we've already had the dad die, I guess, but like this guy gets fucking whaled and we're just like, haha, joke time.
Yeah, it's at this point in the movie where you like realize, oh shit, people are actually dead. Like, sorry, Brit realizes that people are actually dead.
Yeah, people, there's a cost to this,
Yeah.
Jono. Jono, could you be a vigilante? Do you think you could handle it?
No. Way too unfit.
But if you were going to be,
Oh, Seth Rogen can do it. You can too.
if you were going to be a vigilante, who would you look up to?
Probably Batman.
You mean Green Hornet?
Well, that's two. They're,
So-
they're both like... One's black, one's green, you know.
One's Asian too, you know, like
Yeah.
whatever. So this is the scene I'm talking about. I genuinely thought like this is a meth lab, and he was a little Asian man that look at him. You see, he's got the facial hair of those typical
Okay.
like Vietnamese gangsters, and he's got like the fringe thing going on. I thought like, oh, and since he's lit in this poor dim meth lab light, I thought, oh, he's this Asian guy.
I will admit to you that first shot, because of the shadows, it kind of looked like it, but from the second shot onwards, no.
No, he really does. And then when we see him with
in the
Christoph
first
Waltz,
shot, in the first shot,
in
I
this
will admit.
in this whole scene, he does.
He just kills him with that.
You know, no,
flamethrower.
he's
Not yet.
fine. He's fine. He really does look like a little old Asian man. And then in this next scene, I realized my error, but I've already bought into the idea that he's a little Asian man. So I've lied to myself to the point where like I'm looking at him in this scene where he's clearly not, and I'm going, oh look at this little Asian, this poor Asian man is gonna kill my European man.
I guess now that the lighting's gone, his skin does kind of have that little palish Asian
Thank you.
tone to it. But I wouldn't say that I think he
Well,
looks Asian.
I didn't ask you to say that to agree with me. I just told you that. That's what I
Also,
thought.
Ryan, his last name is Tupper.
I know that's not his last name. It's just his name.
We call him Mr. Tupper.
Yeah, I like Christoph Waltz. Genuinely is intimidating in this, but he's also, like you said, Jono,
He's also ridiculous as well.
hilarious.
With the two guns.
Double
Two
barrel-
pistols.
the
double
double-
barrel handgun.
It's awesome. What do you want
You
about?
guys aren't pointing out the fact that he's super insecure.
He's so insecure. I love how he's like I think it's scary more than anything. So he's got the double barrel gun. You don't think it's cool?
I think it's cool. I just said it was cool.
It's cool. You know, there was a saying on the set of this movie, according to the commentary, which was it's something along the lines of, now, you could go for making sense or being cool. And cool always wins out on top. And that sums up everything about this movie.
I guess unless there's like a person in the audience who's like really nitpicky, then it's kind of like, they'll...
And they set up
Yeah.
the gun for the end, where it has that awesome feature where it, like, spreads.
Oh yeah, into 3.
Yeah. Was it 3?
I think it was
No,
3.
I thought it was just, it like, divides further. Like he could divide, so he could point it at you, and now he just presses something, and it just like both barrels just like aim elsewhere.
But I thought there was one that still shots forward.
Maybe then it's a triple barrel threat.
Yeah.
So in this great cinematic classic, where were we in 2011?
I believe we were all finishing year 12.
Year
Were we,
12,
Jono?
finishing year 12.
Were you, Jono? You're 24 years old.
Yeah.
I've known Jono since year 7. We were in the same year level. He was just one of those guys who was born the year before most of us.
Really, Jono?
Yes.
What are your birthdays now? I don't know. It doesn't add up. No.
No, it's he was in my year level, but he
That
just was a bit
answers
older.
all of it. That answers all of it, Jono. So, you guys were in high school together.
Yes.
I was not with these guys. I grew
Well,
up
it's
elsewhere.
together. I mean, we're not gay or anything.
You went to an all-boys school, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, you gay.
Only a second. It was only a second.
A second of sucking cocks. Yeah, I get it.
I'm touching, but
Touching with my mouth.
look, forget. Where were you
I
going?
don't know
with
what
this,
he's talking
Ryan? Where were you going with this?
I was just kind of giving a summary of where we were at life
Uh-huh.
at this point when the movie came out. You know,
and we
saw
were
it in the
both straight.
cinema.
We were both straight at this point in
That's
life.
what
We
gays
still are.
say. Yeah. So, Jono, you were gay at the time, apparently. No,
No, he was straight. He was straight.
I don't know. It sounds like you're covering up for everything.
Just because I'm covering up his sexuality doesn't mean I'm covering up anything of myself.
So we're finishing year 12. You managed to see this movie when the exams were coming up. How did you feel? Did it feel like it motivated you to succeed? Like, you're like, Seth Rogen can do anything. I can too. That's my mentality. I think if I saw this when I was studying what was the most stressful period of my life, which was for me the HSC, I think seeing this movie would have really put things in perspective for me.
Yep. First of all, Jono, he's from New South Wales, so he's different.
You are scam!
And second of all, you got to remember that I was doing drama in year 12, and part of my performance
Was to
at
watch
the end
every
of the-
Seth Rogen movie.
I was actually to watch Blackadder, but I'd already seen Blackadder many times. The character I was playing in my drama solo was Baldric, so I definitely had to have a lot of comedy going on there. This film, as we know, is a comedy, but it also has serious moments. That is exactly what my performance needed. Comedy, but a lot of serious moments. And therefore, I think that maybe subconsciously, because again, wasn't really aware of Unappreciated Masterpiece as a concept back then, just underrated things, I think that this movie definitely would have had an impact on my dramatic solo.
Well, I think it really sums it up. Jono, what about you? What was happening then, man? What was going through young Jono's mind at the time where
I suppose-
you didn't see this film?
Perhaps,
No, I didn't.
Perhaps to direct that question a bit more, how do you think this film would have improved your 2011?
It probably would have been more movies to see, pretty much. I didn't see much films in that year because studying for VCE was a nightmare, and was
Excuses.
I think we saw a movie on our last day of school, but I can't remember what it was.
that was The Breakfast Club.
We came to my house and watched that, but I think we went to cinemas.
No,
or something.
we came to your house and watched Breakfast Club on the
Okay.
last day of school.
And did you fist pump in the air when you walked out of the school and everything was a freeze frame image?
but I think one of the guys actually took their shirt off. Like,
Oh, yeah, someone spilled Coke on him, and so he took his shirt off.
that doesn't really help with the gay denial, but yeah.
No, it gives us mise en scene of your life. So yeah.
But yeah, we just watched The Breakfast Club, and that was just, for those who don't know, Breakfast Club was just set in the one school. Just school.
A library
Nothing
almost,
else.
yeah.
Just in the library. Well, no, there was the time in the hallway and the...
Yeah, I mean, it was in
Yeah.
a school outside the school, but mostly a library.
Yeah.
Oh, there's lots of locations this movie's set place in. It's set place at night, at day, in the afternoon. I mean, that's
Ryan-
just time.
Ryan,
periods.
those aren't wheres, they were whens.
No, but it was where in the day.
Oh, I see, where in the day, aka when.
Yeah, but we're talking about the royal wear.
Hold on, where is the time right now? 3 o'clock.
Don't. They might be listening to this at 2 o'clock and you've thrown off their time. They're going to stop listening to the podcast being like, holy fuck a duck, it's 3 o'clock. I'm due for a baby right now. And then just like turn off the podcast. Don't get to hear our thoughts on the fact that someone thought this would be a brilliant idea to have Seth Rogen in an adult nappy.
Alright, guys. Now let's talk about what we thought about this scene. He passed out.
I thought it was shit.
He passed out. He was clearly gone for a while. How long did you think he was out for?
How long did you think? I thought like,
I thought like 2 hours tops.
oh yeah, you put him in nappies and
Yeah.
a drip in his arm for 2 hours. I thought like, oh, okay, is he been gone out for like they initially set up like a couple of days? Okay, and then it's like, oh, maybe a week. No, what was it? 11 days.
11 days. I was thinking about 3.
He wouldn't he have like muscle paralysis by now? Probably.
I think.
I
he'd
would.
be get-
I would rather actually watch the Green Hornet, the 11 days, like the movie where it's just set between those 11 days. Like, what did Kato do? Like, what was Seth Rogen up to in his dreamscape?
Also, like a midquel.
I would call it like an offshoot movie. Yeah.
I reckon actually that would be a good idea if we were exploring maybe what Chudnovsky was doing, waiting for the Green Hornet to strike again.
And he was like, "Oh, he's got mono. Oh, okay." And just like sits down and goes, "Oh." And what was Cameron Diaz up to? These are, you know what? What do we? Let's just cut straight to the point, gents. We're gentlemen. We have watched movies. You know, Jono didn't, you know, because of the VC was a nightmare, and he's just vowed to never watch them again until this day. We were actually the brave souls to say to Jono, "Hey, Jono, it's going to be your birthday. Your 24th. You want to come and watch Green Hornet?" And he said yes, because Bartek pushes stuff on him, and I'm just charismatic, as you can tell. And you know, it's time for us to get to the point. What do you think was the resulting effect or causes or circumstances that made this movie not an appreciated masterpiece? Where do you think this movie faltered? Or what stopped it? Bartek.
I almost want to say maybe the sense of humor didn't resonate with people, because not that it was super similar, but Year One was another movie where people didn't think that the humor quite impacted people. And I talked in that episode about how sorry, there was like a modern day sort of sense of humor going in that movie, which tried to have like this period piece-ish thing going for it. And this one, certainly the characters are a lot more realistic, because this one isn't as, I was going to say not as slapsticky, but that's not quite true given how...
We're about to see a scene where Kato punches through a cabinet. So.
Yeah. Maybe it's just that whole idea of, like you said, you've already talked about, there were other actual comic book related movies coming out. Maybe this one didn't look like it was the greatest Seth Rogen film, because I think we've also talked about this in Year One. Certain actors have a certain group of friends. Like, when you say Seth Rogen, who are some associated people you can think of? You can
Steve
think
Carell,
of
James Franco.
Steve Carell, James Franco,
Danny McBride. Michael
Basically-
Cera. All of them.
Yeah, you can kind of summarize it by looking at the people who are in, like, This Is the End. And in this movie, who is there? There's James Franco in a cameo.
Jay Chou. He gets the Asian market.
Some Asian guy that people probably haven't heard of.
The
So it
Asian
was like,
market, yeah.
yeah, Asian, well, yeah, the singer, but I think even in the trivia it said that this film crew didn't realise that he was a singer until, like, the last moment, so that probably wasn't an idea behind the marketing. So we've got Seth Rogen. You might know that James Franco has a cameo, but where are all his other comedic pals? Isn't this meant to be a comedy? Why aren't they there?
Yeah, that's the problem. Is it a comedy?
Well, like we've talked about already, there are a lot of fun, like, this is not superhero, but comic book movie that also focuses on the fact that there is meant to be comedy in there.
So, what are you trying to say? Just to clarify, do you think the movie faltered because people's expectations of what I will call, just for this moment, the Rogen frat?
Yeah, actually, that's a good term for it. Because if it's a comedy, obviously they'd want it to be funny, and if they want it to be funny, they probably expect there to be funny people. But
Well,
they
it's got
can...
Cameron Diaz.
True.
She's a big pull. If anything, she's the biggest star in this movie. She is the biggest star in this movie. In terms of careers, Cameron Diaz is the one that pulls people, she's the bankable star. Christoph Waltz is an Academy Award winner, but he's still very new to the audience's eyes. Seth Rogen is Seth Rogen. Cameron Diaz is the staple of this being a legitimate movie.
But going back to that whole association thing, when I say Seth Rogen, is Cameron Diaz close to
No, this is their first work together, I think.
Yeah, so maybe that's just like two different types of comedians getting together, and people might have thought that was, oh, would this work? Would this not work?
No, okay, so you think the lack of the Rogan frat?
Oh, well, yeah. Well, to put it right there, it's the audience's fault.
Yeah, it's the audience. Yeah. They just didn't get it. So here's something just before we segue into you answering, Jono and myself. Fun fact: Seth Rogen wrote this script in 2007. And in the original draft, they actually wanted a backstory for Kato, in which he was like a penniless guy, and he was a big fan. And they just wrote like, Kato's a really big fan of like when he was growing, blah blah of Asian pop music, and his idol happens to be Jay Chou, because they just like Google searched, who's a Japanese, like who's an Asian singer that's popular, Jay Chou, okay, and then they cast Jay Chou, and they're like, look, let's change it, he can't be a fan of himself.
That's too on the nose.
So what about you, Jono? You hadn't seen this before. I mean, Bartek, speaking from experience of seeing it in cinema, you're seeing this years later where this has not made an impact. With Bartek seeing it originally, it made an impact on him at the time, and he's seeing it again in, the awareness. But what about you? What do you think is the thing that made this movie not appreciated?
I'd say that because the Green Hornet isn't very well known in terms of, in terms of like, say, Batman or Superman, where they've got a fan base, they've got an audience. Green Hornet isn't very well known, even though it's been around for years. So I'd say that plays a part into it, but it's also because it's a Seth Rogen film. People have he's got a certain comedic style, and a certain movie style as well, and he likes to keep a certain set. And there's still some of that in that film. Yeah, in this film, there's still some of it in that film. But
like this moment.
Yeah, but generally speaking, I just think that people had they just had the wrong expectations for this film.
Fair enough. All expectations, It's very true, but yet again, you could make the argument. I can hear my listeners already going, "Oh, but Jono, what about Iron Man? Nobody knew Iron Man, and that movie fucking nailed it." And that was also when Robert Downey Jr. was box office poison, and it's by Jon Favreau.
Well, yeah, but that one you have to credit to The Shaggy Dog being an amazing movie.
Yeah, because it revived Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, Jono was just talking about how this property might be a bit too niche for audiences, but I did read also that people who were that niche audience, fans of the Green Hornet,
loved it.
Some of them did, but some of them thought that making it too comedic was not a good move, or didn't like Seth
comedy
Rogen's
is
type of comedy.
Subjective.
Yeah.
No, the real answer is the obvious answer, guys. It was the Hollywood Mafia led by Nicolas Cage, who is look.
Yeah, of course,
John,
Nicolas Cage. Yeah.
Do you know about Nicolas Cage's attachment to this movie?
No, I don't.
Okay, so
brace yourself.
So Nicolas Cage is one of those actors. We all know Nicolas Cage. Don't need to explain him. He's not a man, but an entity itself. And Nicolas Cage is an actor that you feel his presence or lack thereof in everything. You watch a movie with Nicolas Cage, you know he's in it. And when you watch a movie where he was supposed to be in it, you could feel his presence still there. He was originally going to be the villain. Nicolas Cage was going to originally be Chodnovsky. Now remember that. Nicolas Cage was going to be Chodnovsky.
Oh, that'd be
Wait. Here's the best part. Chodnovsky. He had to drop out, unfortunately, but he was in the movie. He was going to be in it. Nothing filmed, but he was going to play Chodnovsky with a Jamaican accent, much to the director and everyone else's dismay.
Oh my god.
He just decided, I'm going to do this with a Jamaican accent. Seth Rogen, in the commentary for this movie, described the experience of meeting Nicolas Cage as surreal and disturbing. And the fact that he was all like, his performance was going to be, ore, Green Hornet, ore. And just this weird...
Oh my god.
And that he wanted a Jamaican gang. And wanted to be in charge of the Jamaican gang, even though that wasn't in the script. And he's like, I won't do it unless I'm going to be Jamaican. And he dropped out for another reason, but they described it as a real experience when he performed the script to them as this Jamaican Tchaikovsky, and then silence fell as he expected them to be in awe and applaud his performance when they were just, in fact, afraid that this is going to be a big failure. And you know what? I think it's the lack of Nicolas Cage. I make a joke saying Hollywood Mafia, Nicolas Cage took down the movie, blah, 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 Illuminati. No, I think it is the lack of Nicolas Cage. You see, Christoph Waltz is great. He's fantastic. He's the saving grace of the movie because he's the best written character for comedy and
this
menace.
scene right here
Yeah.
adds depth to his character because his henchman died and he's...
Genuinely sad.
There's going to be a funeral with candles and everything.
And Kim later. So, you know, the lack of a star like Nicolas Cage that puts this kind of humor into perspective. I think that's the problem, is the mix, the tone of they just kill people, but then they're cracking jokes and like that. That's what Deadpool nailed. And Deadpool nailed it because you had Ryan Reynolds. He's perfect. And Seth Rogen's perfect and Jay Chou. But the villain and Christoph Waltz is perfect. But you need an actor like Nicolas Cage. Hence when Nicolas Cage turned up in Kick-Ass, it put the whole entire movie in perspective. It makes you go, yes, now I didn't know I needed that. That's what you need in this movie. You need a Nicolas Cage. You need a Christopher Walken. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is the turning point of us saying that about Christoph Waltz. You know, where we say, oh, Nicolas Cage and Christopher Walken. Maybe this role is the beginning of us saying, Christoph Waltz.
Oh, the beginning of us saying maybe this needed a Christoph Waltz.
Yeah, because now Christoph Waltz is one of those zany kind of character actors because of this movie where he's genuinely like, why aren't they intimidating? Oh, he's so sad.
Yeah, like in the very beginning when he had that double barrel gun to James Franco's head.
He looked genuinely upset.
And then when James Franco said that he can't think with the gun against his head, he genuinely like put it away, apologizing.
I'm sorry. So, I think that's a part of it. Nicolas Cage is originally going to be in this. Then Christoph Waltz was in it, and according to Seth Rogen and everyone involved, Christoph Waltz did not enjoy his experience.
Really?
He just came off being an Oscar-winning actor to a movie that... I think this is... Jono, prepare yourself. You're going to be shitting your pants in a second. Bartek, he's already shit his pants, so he doesn't need to prepare. Because this is shocking. The movie was poorly managed behind the scenes. The script was forever changing, and even Seth Rogen described this experience as a nightmare. And Christoph Waltz is very... As with his vocal style, his acting style, he's professional, very meticulous. Everything's precise. They describe him as an actor who likes to have a plan. And they are creators that kind of, as you tell with Pineapple Express and all these kind of movies, they just kind of wing it. They kind of improvise. They kind of just play around. And that's not what Christoph Waltz is about. Apparently, there was a point at which Christoph Waltz just decided not to listen to the director anymore. And just do what he wanted. And it shows in terms of Christoph Waltz knows exactly how to do this. The director of this movie has directed many other films. The other big one is Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind with Jim Carrey. He is French. And in the commentary, he does not speak English very well. And they pick on him quite a lot for it. And there's many points, Bartek, where they're actually arguing about whose idea it was for this. And trust me, if you need to listen to a commentary, the commentary for this movie is an exceptional one because really we could sit here and speculate what went wrong, but they do it for us. They were there. They actually talk about they worked on the script for 5 years.
Wow, yeah.
And when it actually push came to shove, it turned out differently. Maybe for the better, maybe for the worse. They had... The director walked off set several times. Seth Rogen cried. I would watch a documentary about behind the scenes of Green Hornet. And it would be called, Bludnovsky's Revenge. Where he's the real villain of the piece. For realsies. So, apparently Seth Rogen did a lot of his own stunts, too.
Oh, cool.
So that's neat. So Bartek,
Full stop on that point.
did you have a favorite character, guys?
Did I have a favorite character? Jeez Louise, did I have a favorite character? I think I would have to give it to Chudnovsky.
Chernovsky's a good solid one. What
It
about
feels
you?
like a
Yeah.
feels like a
Tarnowski is pretty funny.
Well, what makes Chudnovsky the villain? You know, played by Christoph Waltz perfectly. Like, what makes him your favorite? Like, what is it about him?
Well, I mentioned earlier that Seth Green, Jesus. Seth Green Hornet.
So you do it.
Seth Rogen had that point in the movie where I've talked about it already, where he played with the tropes of, oh, the hero's weakness is the fact that they have loved ones, so let's pretend that we're villains so that we have that defense. The whole idea of playing with the villain, with Christoph Waltz playing the villain, when you describe villains, sometimes you would think insecurity would be a factor there. Most of the times it's that they're sadistic or crazy, and insecurity would just feed that. Whereas here, the insecurity kind of gives him more characterization. Like, he wants to have a certain appearance, and the only appearance of James Franco in this movie makes this whole point of how it's almost a speech that says all of the flaws that he knows about himself, and it's the first scene he appears in. So it kind of sets you up for this villain's going to be different. He's going to do villainous things, and you're going to know he's a villain, but you're going to be sympathizing with him a little bit.
Yeah. Is that right, Jono? Do you sympathize with him?
Generally yes. But
I don't know.
it's just no, because the reason I liked him was just like his demeanor or character was so
Mannered.
well, not mannered, but it was just that, it was just 1 minute he's just angry, and he's just he's just like evil, and then all of a sudden like he's just so sincere over the most ridiculous things, like whether or not someone's I'm like I can't think with a gun in my head, like you said before. It's like, oh, okay, I'll just put it down, and he's just so calming and caring.
So Ryan, could you interpret that as kind of like discovering Christoph Waltz?
Yeah, you've discovered Christoph Waltz does that. Like, Christoph Waltz, you have to you know what? Let's just watch a Glorious Bastards. Guys, turn it off. No. What's he doesn't do Glorious Bastards. In Glorious Bastards, he's a guy called the Jew Hunter, and you kind of gravitate towards him because he likes cream. You know, like, that's something that actually genuinely happens. You're like, oh, I kind of like this guy. He likes cream. And he says, that's a bingo. Instead of bingo. Like, that's how you say it, right? That's a bingo. It's like, no, it says bingo.
There's a part where he like makes a racist joke, like comparing black people to gorillas. But then he ends the sentence with something funny, so you're like, that was charming.
Christoph Waltz, you charming bastard. Look, he's a good character. Chudnovsky, for me, when I first watched it, I genuinely thought he was the backbone of this movie.
I will confess, I feel like saying Chudnovsky's the best character is kind of like a
given.
A given. I can't remember the word. I was using it just yesterday, but
why I bring it up now is one of my favorite characters was actually in this sequence here, which is really done beautifully. Like, by the way, it's like a Breaking Bad montage. There's this Asian hit woman on the far right here. Mm-hmm. She's just great. She's just like, yeah, go kill him, yeah. And she's just like, saying it like so nonchalant, out loud in public.
Yeah,
it's so good.
Yeah, this scene, admittedly, for how beautiful it is, it's actually a given that you need to watch it multiple times just to see everything.
Yeah, like, like...
Because this is my third time watching the movie, and I certainly do not know everything that happens here.
Yeah, well, people start dying pretty quickly. No, I think my favorite character is actually D.A. Scanlon. Yeah. He's great.
Yeah, he would be a character you'd like.
I love when Seth Rogen's trying to picture it all, and then he just cuts back. It's like, I'm telling by that goofy expression that you've had on your face for the last 5 minutes that you're figuring all this out.
That was a great
I love the fact that he just sat there silently for 5 minutes looking at him, being like, uh-huh.
Yeah. It's like when you play a video game and like someone has a flashback and you like are invested in that flashback and all that, but then when it cuts back, it's like, how much time really passed while all those thoughts were coming in your head?
Yeah, pretty much.
Like we were talking about Ace Attorney before. That's a game where that happens all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my jeez. If this movie was Ace Attorney, who knows where we would be today? If Seth Rogen comes into Ace Attorney as Green Hornet and Christoph Waltz is like the prosecuting lawyer and is doing like the pointing of the finger. If all movies were done the same way as Ace Attorney, the video game, is, where it's just like pointing and just mouths move, and then
And like really good comebacks hurts people apparently.
oh, they make you turn like Diaz Scanlon. Oh, so 7 people wearing green are killed, and that automatically look. It just says Kato. It automatically just says that. Look, I'll be honest. If 7 people in our city of Melbourne were killed and they all happen to wear green, I don't think they would say don't wear green.
Well, certainly
It's like we're gonna panic on the streets.
in this day and
People
age,
who are wearing green are getting killed.
in this day and age, that we call like victim blaming, I guess.
Slut shaming,
You-
really.
You
Yeah.
can't tell us what to wear.
You can't tell me what to wear. I'm going to wear my green G-string, and no man's gonna. Oh no! And then you hear Chodovsky's Bloodnovsky speech, which is awesome, by the way. You know what's the best part? You think Chodovsky? He's the best part. Chodovsky's working towards evolving into Bloodnovsky, and his second-hand man, Popeye, actually says that's stupid. It's not gonna work. You're gonna whatever. It actually works. Like, he turns into Bloodnovsky, and everybody thinks he's cool now, and he's genuinely threatening. And the best part is, you think, oh, he's gonna turn you think he's gonna turn into Bloodnovsky, and he's gonna be like lamer or stupider. It's actually like genuinely terrifying. But then it's the typical thing. He gets the villain conventions happen where he does his monologuing, and then he gets shot in the face, and he doesn't even get to say his full speech.
So I guess his arc is that he was this infallible villain, and then by becoming more typical, that was his downfall.
What happened is, you can correct me if I'm wrong, he was a real life gangster, and then he became Hollywood nonsense and got killed.
What do you think of that, Jono?
What do you think of that, Johnny? Yeah, just
don't
give
have
us a
any-
non-verbal answer.
I don't have anything to disagree with on that.
Johnny, do you work in a newspaper?
No, I don't.
Do you own a newspaper?
No, I don't.
No. If you owned a newspaper and found out that your father was, did your dad own a newspaper?
No.
Nah. If you found out that your dad owned a newspaper and he was taking bribes, and then you found out he didn't really want to take bribes, would you still think he was a shit dad because, you know, in the end, your dad in this universe is really terrible, like Seth Rogen's dad? If you found out, oh, but he didn't want to take bribes, does that change your view on him being as your father?
Well, no, because he's still if you're a shit dad, you're still a shit dad, whether or not you took bribes or not.
This is maybe one of the things that brings this movie down, is that conflicting message of, like, and it's not just this movie, it's a lot of movies where you have a lot of shit parents and shit people, and somehow they're redeemed because, oh, they were a stand-up guy. Outside of this, Hitler was a stand-up guy.
Yeah.
He liked animals. The Holocaust,
He painted.
he painted. He was a stand-up guy.
I'm pretty sure, like,
He was Times Man of the Year.
I'm pretty sure that the Olympics before World War II started, he like introduced the games or something.
Yeah, and he let a black person be in there, which was surprising.
Come in, black.
Wow.
That was what Hitler said.
No. He wouldn't have said anything to him. He would have been like too afraid
Oh, I get
of pure anti-Aryan.
He would get dirty by acknowledging him. Yes.
So the best part is the guy's name is Popeye because he's got one eye. But according to the script writers, Seth Rogen, he was always called Popeye, and his name was just never said until his eye was gone, and people started laughing, thinking it was like this really funny joke. Because also Christoph Waltz says Popeye in a cute, like, innocent way, like Popeye.
It's like, yeah, they forgot to establish it.
And they're like, that wasn't on purpose. It wasn't a joke on purpose. We just thought it'd be really cool to have 2 henchmen called Chili and Popeye.
So this whole like, let's say for example, we forgot to introduce Jono's name, but we said he's here, and then all of a sudden we're like, "Gay boy, what do you think?" And it's like, "Oh, his name's Gay Boy." That's fine. It's like, yeah,
And he's
Didn't we say
not
that?
gay or a boy.
What the?
What?
He's not gay or
I
a
heard what
boy.
you said, but I couldn't.
He's
think-
a man! What do you want about? He finished VCE. He's 24 years old. I think we
yeah.
established this.
He finished VCE. What's your ATA score?
Atta?
I don't remember, and I don't want to.
Jono,
good
I like
answer.
your defense towards yourself was not to say, hey, it was... What? Don't worry, Jono. You're not a boy.
That's
You're
a gay-
a man.
an ATAR
a
is-
gay man.
Disclaimer: ATAR is separate from VCE, so it's good that he
ATAR,
didn't
right?
answer. ATAR, who cares?
ATAR.
It's a made-up word.
It's a tar. Because I'm putting tar on the road over the piece of paper that tells me my number.
Pretty much.
Oh,
So this is the I'm possibly a rapist scene. We haven't even talked about the fact that he thinks that they're in love.
yeah.
We haven't talked about Cameron Diaz a lot. So, Project, do talk
Aw.
about some Cameron Diaz and her fact that she can beat the shit out of the Green Hornet.
Well, I mean, I've seen Shrek. I know that she's strong.
I've seen Shrek too. She's even stronger than that.
Exactly. She
I've
only
mentioned
gets
this on the
stronger.
show before, but one of my favorite things about Cameron Diaz is she's in the special features for Shrek 2, and they've got her head in like a little bubble on the right-hand corner, and it's like showing that scene where the gingerbread man, like the huge gingerbread man, is storming the castle, and she's just like, she's genuine. She's like holding her face over in her hand, just going, you know, when I first saw Shrek 2, the special effects, like, it was so scary how realistic they are. Shrek 2! And it's like showing the giant gingerbread man. She's like, oh, it's so scary how realistic they are. And that's the thing about Cameron Diaz. What a great resume, by the way. And his name is just Kato, by the way. And his Hotmail is Kato Drives at Hotmail. My favorite thing is later on when he starts messaging Bludnovsky, it's message to... It's not like the Green Hornet. I think if you actually look at it, it's like the little green wasp or something. Because he's his sidekick. He has to differentiate him. Fun fact, that's actually the mayor of New York's office. Or no, mayor of San Francisco's office.
GH.
They used for that. GH, so
at Green Hornet.
the Green Hornet, I swear there's something later.
Well, the subject is green mosquito.
Oh, there you go, Green Mosquito.
Mosquito.
Sorry, I got it wrong.
Bludnovsky came up with that on his own.
No,
guess.
I think that was Popeye's last words. Green
Oh.
Mosquito. And,
And
he's
he's
like,
like, oh.
I shall avenge you from myself. Because he's the kind of villain who would do that.
He would do that.
I think we all agreed on that. He would do. I watched a movie about Bludnovsky being the hero, and he's just like, it's his movie. And Christoph Waltz is in it yelling at the director, refusing to take any orders. And it's directed by Ang Lee, and it's done like the Hulk. And I would watch the fuck out of that movie. So, at this point in the movie, Bartek, you know, did you have flashbacks to your first time seeing it at the cinema? What was your experience at the cinema? Was it packed? Did people laugh? Did people cry?
Do you remember a few episodes ago when we did Gulliver's Travels? I told you that when I thought back to that movie, I thought of the palace,
Yeah.
and like that always stuck in my head. For some reason, with this movie, whenever I think back, the thing that I would think of is two things. First of all, in the scene where Kato is mentioning that he's from Japan and Seth Rogen responds... Sorry,
from Shanghai.
he's from Shanghai and Seth
fucking
Rogen...
I love
racist.
Shanghai.
Yeah,
I love Shanghai Noon
yeah. Well,
and Shanghai Nights.
the line where Seth Rogen just goes, "I love Japan." I always remembered that line because I found it funny at the time.
Do you find it funny now?
Of course I do.
No doubt. No doubt.
Don't doubt me, bitch.
I'm so-
And the other thing I remember, a more visual thing, is Bludnovsky in the darkness.
With a gas mask?
I don't think necessarily with a gas mask, and I didn't remember who the actor was, but I think
Jono's yawning in fear of that line of dialogue that you just stated that you didn't remember who he was. Jono's a big fan of Christoph Waltz.
I think it might have been a shot of when they're inside the.
Why did he change coat?
I don't know why. That just,
It's like the same coat,
I
yeah?
actually just laughed.
No,
No,
why-
it's not the same coat. It's just a bit trench coat.
The
but
first one-
I just laughed at that for some reason. I
The
don't know
first
why.
one was more like a
When I saw
suit.
that, when I saw that.
Hysteria setting.
The first one was a suit jacket. This one's more like a coat. Yeah, it might have been a scene of the destroyed upper floors of the newspaper building.
are.
So yeah, a shot from there was something I always remembered.
The thing I remembered was just double-barreled gun because I thought that was fucking wicked.
I forgot about that, so I got like a nice surprise of like, oh yeah.
Can I tell you some of the weird creative choices and differences they had behind the set?
Please tell me some interesting creative choices and weird differences they had.
So
behind the set.
originally, they make fun of, in the scene with James Franco, Christoph Waltz just pulls a gun out of nowhere. Like, it was obviously not, because he was wearing a really light coat. You would have seen it. Apparently they made a holster for it, but it just looked like a suitcase attached to a fucking belt.
It would.
And then the best part was, the original plan was Christoph Waltz would have a briefcase and it would have like a kind of a three-dimensional map of Los Angeles on it. So it would have, he opens up the suitcase and there would be like kind of like Lego pieces, like map of the Los Angeles, and he would be ripping out parts of it going, I own this and I own that, and he's actually constructing his double barrel gun while he's talking and then just shoots James Franco with it, and that explains how he does that. But one of my favorite things is, because the director is usually coming up with these like crazy ideas, like in his brain he was like, the ending of it shouldn't have been the car changes to white, but he wanted the car to like look like a submarine and have a cockpit. He has all these crazy ideas about, like, you know, for me, it makes perfect sense for why they would blah, 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 right? But this is the one that actually makes sense. You listen to the commentary going, oh, okay, this guy's foreign, he's got some weird concepts, like, you know, he's an arty director as well. In this, there is one moment where he goes, he's still bitter about it. He goes, I still believe that Kato should have turned up at the restaurant dressed as the Green Hornet. It makes more sense. And they're like, no, because, and their reason is for the aesthetic value of, so then later on in the fight sequences, they can be Kato and the Green Hornet, you know, aesthetically, like, they both look like that.
Alright, thinking ahead.
Yeah, thinking ahead. But, like, this is the speech, by the way. He's giving a speech about, like, dressing in women's clothes. But, like, this is a weird David Lynch sequence, but I had.
Yeah.
He gives this whole thing about, like, it makes more sense. And Seth Rogen's like, no, you're wrong on that one. And I'm sitting there thinking, no, he's completely right. It makes more sense that he rocks up as the Green Hornet. That's what they want. They want the Green Hornet. They don't want fucking Driver Man. And they don't believe him anyway. They look in the car and they see Green Hornet isn't in there. And everything goes to shit. Just saying that this dream sequence is weird.
Yeah, I was really confused with this one, like, because I guess I forgot what Scanlan's voice sounded like, so I'm like, is he talking to his dad or something?
No, it's his dad. It's his dad's
He's
voice.
actually talking to his dad?
Yeah, it's his dad's voice. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah. And Scanlan's just sitting there silently, just like, okay.
Yeah, this is apparently 5 minutes long.
It's 5 minutes of pure joy. And look, we learn that Scanlan is so willing to defend his honor and his life that he will kill a man with a bee sting. Now, Jonathan, are you allergic to bees?
No.
Sorry, I didn't mean to call you Jonathan. Jono, are you allergic to bees?
No.
What about hornets?
No.
What about wasps?
I got stung by a wasp.
How was that?
Painful.
Did it sting you once or twice or three times
Once.
a lady?
In the finger.
Which finger?
This finger here.
Oh, thanks for the visual representation for the listening audience. He stuck up the middle finger. That's
Yeah,
the
the-
finger.
On the right hand.
On the right hand. That's the hand that you hold your heart with. Isn't it, Bartek?
Sorry, I got a flashback of the last time I held a heart.
We'll sit here and wait for 5 minutes.
5 minutes and we're like, oh, so you're just piecing it together, are you, Bartek? It was when he holds Scanlan's heart after he got brutally murdered by Kato. He's looking at his watch. So, Jono, would you want to see a sequel to this?
Actually, yes, I would.
Don't sound too keen. What would the sequel be to you? What would happen in Jono's sequel?
Oh, Jesus. I'm not sure.
Come on, pitch an idea. I'm a Hollywood executive, right? We're the Warner Brothers.
Really?
Here's the silent one, and I'm the one that talks. Right, Jono. What's his last name again?
Tropiano.
Oh, you talked.
Oh, it was only a 45-second sequence.
Tropiano. Jono Tropiano. Yeah. We're the Warner Brothers. We are going to. I don't even know if the Warner Brothers did Green Hornet, but we're gonna make Green Hornet 2 with, I don't know why he's like this. We're gonna make Green Hornet 2 with Seth Rogen and Chou back in the saddle of the Black Beauty.
Audiences will they'll eat it up.
Obviously, we've got to follow on from where the first one left off.
Yeah.
Who would you cast in the movie as the villain?
Yeah.
Who would be a great villain for you?
Who'd be a great villain? Oh,
Yeah.
I-
Someone funny but menacing, charismatic. Someone the audience won't expect.
Oh God.
God? He's a villain of life already. We can't really have God in there. Maybe his son Jesus.
Two on the nose.
Two on the nose.
Jesus.
Mary and Joseph Stalin. All of them are in there. So who would you have as a villain?
I would say probably. I'd probably say Tom Hardy as like some.
Tom Hardy
Tom
as a villain? That is so 2012. We're moving on from him now, mate. You know what you meant to say, Jono. Adam Sandler.
Adam Sandler.
How good would it be if Adam Sandler was in this movie and his voice was, "No, it's me, Adam Sandler."
Green Hornet.
In that voice. Oh, God.
In the voice, and his insecurity is about his high-pitched voice. Okay, so you get him right, but unfortunately Cameron can't be in the movie. She's retired from acting after her stellar work on The Other Woman. She's decided to take a hiatus for the next 10 years. Who would be the new woman? Who's the new love interest?
Betty White.
Betty White.
Betty White.
Is she a love interest or is she just like the brains of the operation?
How about both?
You can't have one without the other.
I like the way this guy thinks.
We find out that Betty White, though, is dying like Alfred in Batman and Robin. Because if there's any a movie to base our movie off of, it's Batman and Robin. So, right. Who's the director of this masterpiece? Who's someone that you really like and think would be a great choice for directing this? We can't get old Gondry back on this one.
Oh, jeez. I just forgot his name.
What's he directed, son? I know movies. I make them.
Yeah.
Last Airbender.
M. Night Shyamalan.
Shyamalan.
I would love it. So the twist is Betty White is M. Night Shyamalan.
Yes.
Right. So we got the M. Night What do you think, Warner? You want to watch the Adam Sandler, Green Hornet, villain-fueled, Betty White love interest brains, M. Night Shyamalan twist?
I think I just ejaculated from what you just said.
He just ejaculated. We're gonna give you 50, 60 gajillion dollary dues. Off you go and make a movie, son.
That's about $1 million American.
That's all, yeah.
By $1 million, I mean 110 million.
So, I would watch the fuck out of that movie. I would really love it if the sequel was Adam Sandler's the villain and he does have that, he has this voice going on. You know that Adam Sandler voice that he does? And he's actually really insecure about it. Like, he tries to do it deep, though. Like, he's got this voice going on and he tries to do it a bit deeper. And he just can't do it. And his whole motif is that he's a sailor. Like, he's got, like, the little Popeye hat on.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't have anything else. He has, like, you know how Adam Sandler just walks around in shorts and a shirt? He has that. He has that. A glass of brandy in his head, but he has like a little Popeye sailor hat on, and he's just like, "They call me the Popeye Sailor Man."
I want the Green Hornet
Give me
pay for the death of my assistant.
my assistant Rob Schneider. It's good because Adam Sandler's not even playing a character. It's Adam Sandler. And Seth Rogen will be like, "You menace! You've destroyed the comedy landscape for generations to come!" And he's like, you won't catch me alive! And he like kills himself in the end. But just like every Batman movie,
Yeah.
like every Batman comic, he's not dead.
No.
It'd be like, no, it would be exactly like in Batman 1989 with Jack Nicholson as the Joker. He would be like, "Oh, jeez, I created you, you created me, can't we all get along?" And then he just like punches him off a clock tower and he just falls to his death and he's just like got that Adam Sandler smile and blood's coming out of his head and you just hear, "Those happy days," and like a fist bump. And Adam Sandler, you see his body's actually like that at the Breakfast Club. His body's like laying like a fist bump. And then you just get a disclaimer at the end of the credits. Adam Sandler was paid a commission of $40 million for his 20-minute appearance in The Green Hornet. And that's why he's like, dude! And the credits is rolling over that.
Oh god.
And at his funeral, they give him like McDonald's breakfast menu all day.
I know, you give me the McDonald's but the movie, The Green Hornet, has to be set in, like, the tropics, because you know Adam Sandler likes having a holiday.
Oh yes, he needs to have a holiday somewhere.
Adam Sandler's that's why he's a sailor, because he wants to have it on his yacht. He doesn't want to get off of his yacht. And he goes, they're like, but Sandler, it doesn't make sense. You're supposed to be you're supposed to be an LA crime boss. Well, just set it in the tropics and give me a little sailor hat, and then I'm done. He doesn't. I would believe that. It's a movie where he actually refuses to get out of his deck chair.
Yeah. Yeah.
He'll be like, get out of the deck chair. And Adam's like, you know who I am? I'm Billy Madison and Happy Gilmore. And then you just see, like, they're like trying to get him out. It's like, you're a hack. And then you just hear knuckles cracking in the distance, and they just turn around, and it is just Kevin James. It's like, what did you say? What did you say? And they're like, what? And then he grabs him by the back of the neck and slams their head on the table. It's like, apologize to Adam. You call him sir.
And after he dies, the kid from Big Daddy comes crying into the scene.
Yeah,
with Scuba Steve.
And then Dia piss on him.
That's the second time I've talked about Scuba Steve this episode. It's all coming together.
It's coming together. So, but in that movie, Betty White is Adam Sandler's mum as well.
Oh my god.
It's like,
Oh dear.
she's like, I raised my son wrong. Oh yeah, you did, Mom. So for that one, he's just on a mobile phone to her. But being Adam Sandler, he has those old 80s phones as well. Like, that's what I imagine. Basically, wouldn't it be great if his yacht crashed into Vince Vaughn's yacht from Starsky and Hutch? And somehow Will Ferrell was involved, always.
Could I just point out, in this scene right here, there was a point where Christoph Waltz was running. He had a gun in front of him. He had the gas mask on, and the subtitle just said, "I'm ungassable."
He actually did say he's
Yeah, he did
ungassable.
We could just take that as a screenshot, just post it and be like,
It's
I'm
funny-
ungassable.
It's funny because he's German.
yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, fun Polish fact, everyone.
Ooh.
Jono, don't get too excited. I know you don't get to say much, but here's a fun Polish fact. One of the women was a friend of the director who was auditioning for Cameron Diaz's role. The director is French. This woman auditioned, and Seth Rogen highly offended her, and she stormed out of the audition because the director simply said, "Oh, this is my friend. You know, her English is very, very good considering that she is not native to America." And he's like, "Oh, where are you from?" And she said that she was from Poland. And Seth Rogen upset her by saying, "Oh yeah, Poland. Isn't it always like grey, miserable, and depressing over there? Isn't like Poland like one of the worst places in Europe?" And she just turned around and went, "Are you serious? Are you serious right now?" And just walked out.
Yeah, no. Usually it's UK that's cold and boring and stuff.
But yeah,
In the winter, the skies look
Seth
crap.
Rogen just goes.
It always looks crap.
Seth Rogen just said, "Hey, that place that you're from is depressing."
Wow, Seth Rogen. He's a...
Who knew he was a racist?
Who knew he was such a genius?
What? To get Cameron Diaz in even more, he offends the Polish people. Look, I get it. We're very easy to attack, as the Germans found
As
out.
World War II shows.
And then Russia. We get it. We're an easy mark. But does that really mean you have to hurt one of our citizens? One of our patriots, if you will? Or what's that in Polish?
No.
He doesn't speak it anymore. It's kind of, he's got like a temperamental Polish vernacular.
Should I sing a Polish song just to...
No, it's too late now. We've lost the rhythm. I was just basically trying to say, do you have to hurt us so Cameron Diaz can be in your movie? Because guess what? She'll do you a favor. She'll be in your movie. She'll do you a favor. She's a nice woman. She's out there looking for someone right now because she's retired from acting. But this time she was in everything. She only was on the set for this movie for 9 days. Fun fact.
Well, until she found out that racist comment.
And then she quit, and she didn't promote this movie because she found out they were racist against the Polish people. That was a weird shot.
And that's
Wait, it splits? No, it's just 2.
Oh, okay.
Boom. It splits so it can do that. I was right. This is a very scary image. A German man in a gas mask in the fog. Brings back flashbacks for us. What about you, Jono? Does it bring back flashbacks? No, because you're Italian. You were on the wrong side.
You were on the Axis powers.
You were on the Mussolini side.
Yep.
So Mussolini, great leader or the greatest leader of Italy?
Who had the better moustache, Hitler or Mussolini?
Mussolini. There's no contest.
Good. Okay, cool.
Mussolini didn't have a mustache.
What about Hideki Hojo?
Maybe Hideki Hojo.
I don't know. I still think Mussolini.
I still think Stalin at the end of the day.
He's not Axis.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Should-
Whoops.
You should Axis him a question. That's the
What was the king of Egypt or whatever? He was...
Pharaoh?
No. Like during the Second World War, because the Egyptians helped out the Nazis.
Did they? Bastards.
The fucking asshole bastards! That was my Italian. It was pretty good, yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't they watch
Right on
freaking...
point.
That's a... Can you speak Italian?
I can say swear words.
You don't know the title of this movie in Italian?
No.
Oh, then what you good for? War, absolutely nothing.
Come on, even I know this movie's title in Polish. The Green Hornet 3D.
Yeah, why didn't you have it a Polish title? Or did you
I don't-
not look it up?
No, I literally went to Wikipedia, went to this movie's page, clicked the Polish thing, you know, the language, and the title was just The Green Hornet 3D. And all of the links at the bottom for like citations were all about The Green Hornet 3D.
Hey, here's something. None of us have seen this in 3D yet. Did you see it in 3D in the theater? Because when they...
I might have.
Because they were shoving 3D down our throats like how these are going through his eyes.
Yeah, and certainly in that in that first Kato vision
Side popping.
in the first Kato vision scene, remember when he kicked the guy and he went over like 1 million cars?
Yeah.
I feel like that might have been something that was made for 3D.
No, I think the bit where Scanlan's about to get driven out of a fucking skyscraper by a car, I think that was made for 3D.
Speaking of which, it's gonna happen.
Oh, he got shot in the shoulder, but luckily it's not on his heart side.
But if they realise that the Green Hornet's gotten shot in the shoulder, and they find out that Britt Reed's gotten shot in his shoulder,
Then clearly he's Bludnovsky.
Yeah.
yeah. That's right, Ryan. Thank you for finishing my sentence.
Oh, here we go.
Couldn't you cover that up really easy by being like, I was in the building when Bludnovsky and his men were shooting like madmen?
Couldn't he just say that he was practicing juggling guns?
Yeah, couldn't he just say that he was eating a really iron-rich dinner? And it just clotted up so bad it caused like a
I
bullet
like
mark?
how he's dead and immediately someone's biased.
Yeah, they're waiting. That's actually, you know, that's Snoop Dogg from Starsky and Hutch. That's Huggy Bear. It's the same universe. So,
Wow.
the ejector seats come in handy, Jono. Did you think they were going to come into the movie at all? With the record player?
Honestly, I forgot about them like halfway through the
You think the ejector seats, you know what would have been the best time to use the ejector seats? When the 2 concrete trucks lock them
Yeah.
in.
I was, yeah. I think when they were pushed in the pit, I'm like, could they possibly use the ejector seats here?
No, they just used
But right-
missiles! Apparently the Mythbusters did a whole episode on this and debunked a lot of the things they did in this, and Seth
No.
Rogen thanked them personally. But he asked them, hey, you know that bit where I'm hiding behind like a giant roll of paper and he's shooting the bullets? Would the bullets go through that? They're like, no, wouldn't even go past an inch. And
So
then, you know, that's how you make bulletproof vest, I guess.
one other thing that was in the IMDb trivia was one of the last points was that in this movie, Kato can't swim.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice that they pointed that out in the trivia because, I mean, it's established in the movie. He can't swim.
What is trivia on these things? Trivia? The movie's called The Green Hornet.
Like the Polish title.
Trivia,
would have been-
Seth Rogen. Like, not even anything else. Trivia, Seth Rogen.
We've already made a joke like that already. Right?
Trivia, boogers. Because everyone's got them.
Yes.
Jono, do you pick your boogers?
No.
What do you do when you get a clogged up nose, but it's not
I
running?
blow my nose.
Oh, but you can't get hard boogers. What happens if sometimes hard booger is hard to get out? What do you do? Do you eventually pick it, or do you wait for it to like fall on
Do
its
you
own?
ask Cameron Diaz for a favor or something?
I'd like to ask Cam Diaz for a favour.
She is
Several.
very attractive in general, but in this movie, because for some reason
Oh,
they're
there's a
like,
gay joke.
yeah, for some, oh, not apples. In this movie, they thought, oh, it's going to be a brilliant idea to, you know, just have her for the last scene kind of be like barely in clothes, I guess, because that's what you do on your night out, is barely wear clothes. Yeah, flick the hair out of your face, Cameron. So here's a fun fact: the commentary for this was done in 2010. Bartek, this is so good. Seth Rogen was saying, oh, you know, we put Cameron Diaz in there because this movie was becoming too much of a sausage fest, too much of a sausage party. They're like, yeah, there's too many guys. He's like, yeah, it was too much of a sausage party. And he just kept saying sausage party, and they're like, why do you keep saying that, Seth? He's like, oh, I'm working on a script right now called Sausage Party. By the time that anyone actually listens to this commentary, that will be out in the cinemas. I listened to that commentary, and it is out currently at the cinemas, Sausage Party.
I think Jono's seen it, right?
Jono, is it as good as Green Hornet?
Very.
Is it not as good, though?
Very's not yes or no.
It's as good as Green Hornet.
Oh, great.
I don't know if anything can be.
I like this part.
Where he's sweating
Yeah.
profusely. I actually said, what's wrong with him? Because I actually thought they picked the bullet out.
Like, when it was panning down and someone was giving a speech, I'm like, who's giving this speech? And I'm like, oh, it's him. And what's wrong with him? And then he gets...
That guy's coughing. He is really upset. There's a whole subplot about why he's coughing, actually, that they removed, which was he got shot in the face with the gas.
And he's got his hand on his shoulder and, like, patting it, and he's just, like, in pain. So I'm like, oh, okay, the bullet's there.
My favorite part is forensics can really do a work on this by just going, hey, there's no blood anywhere when he got shot.
Yeah.
And also, the wound is clearly like 8 hours old.
Yes, and another thing that Ace Attorney's taught us is that every bullet has, like, a signature on it, so you'd be, like, able to tell when it was shot, how far away it was, and all that kind of stuff, what gun shot it. But it's a movie, so, you know,
Yeah,
it's
and
more
you
about
think-
being cool and
And you
fun.
think a police-issued rifle would be different to a pistol, but I'm wrong. Because you know why? This is a part of the movie-going experience. This is, you see those nitpicks? That's what an audience member ruined about this movie. It's not about the nitpicks. It's about the general feeling of the film.
You say nip picks, you mean nip slips, or...?
Nip licks. It's about... Ew. Jono, don't lick his nipples. You said you're not gay, boy. You're a man, Kay. You're a man homo.
You can't. You're going in a good direction, Ryan, but somewhere near the end.
I just swallowed a cock and I just couldn't help. I'm like, no, help. I was like, you're good. That was a good description of a sucking cock. So, I really do like the ending of this movie. Well, this bit is basically like, it's like all those movies where it's just like, you know what we've done up to now? It's been completely useless. We're going to do something more important leading up to a sequel. It's like, that's all those movies. Like, what we've done is barely important in the grand scheme of what we're about to do next.
Yeah, I'm going to be a bit honest with you. For a second there, I was like, wait, what's going on? And then I remembered, oh, right, the head. I was confused for a
Yeah,
second. I forgot
they
how they
removed a
prefaced
head
it.
of a statue, not they gave head, just for those keeping in point.
Gave head? Who? Where? I didn't.
No, exactly. He did. He gave it back to his
Oh, right.
He gave head to his dad.
What? No, I did not.
Oh, Jono, you're so innocent and naive. You look... The green Michael
Orange
Gondry...
I think it's Michelle?
No, it's...
But he's French. It's like Michelle.
Okay, Michael Gondry,
Mitchell
Bennett. So, the movie is over. Finally, so we can get to the real heart of what we do on the show, which is give our personal reviews, a kind of summary, and a rating of our choice. Bartek, I'd like you to go first.
So, as the one of this group who saw the movie first and has probably the longest history with it, though admittedly I don't think it's as sentimental as yours, Ryan, before we decided to do this episode a couple of days ago, I was thinking back to this movie and good time. I saw it with my stepbrother. I've seen many movies with him. We've seen a lot of movies that would be unappreciated.
AKA.
I'll admit I skipped over that in the credits, so it kind of made me laugh. Chou as Kato. So I thought back to this movie thinking, I remember having a good time. I remember that there were a lot of funny parts in it, and I remembered walking out satisfied, but again, not knowing if this movie really impacted me or not. And having watched it again, I've seen a lot of things in this movie that I can appreciate, that I admire, and that actually are things that I've been looking for in other films. Like the whole aspect of playing with tropes of villains and superhero movies, which I'm not too into. Like, Jono would know this about me. We have a group chat on Facebook with a bunch of our friends, and we sometimes arrange to see movies there. And usually when there's a superhero movie, I'm not as active there talking about how I want to see it. And
You mean you never go?
I usually never go to the superhero movies because I'm just not that interested in paying $20 for something like that.
$20.
$21, but okay.
20
I'm
what?
so sorry.
You guys, where do you guys?
I try to promote the cinema that like has $8 tickets, but no one ever wants to go there.
That's just a personal backstory. You're really getting into the reviewing style of giving your own personal backstory instead of talking about the actual product. I was born on a rainy night.
Yes, it rained the day I was born.
In all of Poland.
I was the thunder in that rain.
Oh.
Basically,
lightning.
basically, this movie is a fantastic comedy film that Jono's laughing at an in-joke. If you played Metal Gear Solid 4, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, God.
Look, this movie is great. It's funny, and it has a sidekick character, which do superhero movies a lot these days have a sidekick character?
Not really.
Do you find that to be like a lost art form, you reckon?
Well, it happened in Batman and Robin, and Batman and Robin was shit.
And
What do you mean?
That was decades ago.
Yeah.
That was a pinnacle movie for toys.
What I'm saying is that this movie has a lot of things that I like, and there are a lot of superhero movies now that has things that I don't necessarily like, and that therefore this movie should be given a higher position in society, and that we can learn from it, and that you've learned from it subconsciously, now realize what's the opposite? Consciously learn from it, and make your life better. If I have to give this movie a rating, and I have to, because
You're
that's
at
how
gunpoint.
I'm at gunpoint.
Gunpoint.
Am I?
Yes.
Yeah,
Fuck.
that's what they call my penis.
If I have
They
to give
call it a gun.
If I have to give this movie a rating, I would have to give it a octrillion barreled gun out of octrillion.
Well, that was emotional, Jono. I mean, I'm in tears. Tears from my gun.
Tears or tears? Because they're spelt the same way.
They're both the same. I'll give you my review. You know, Jono, you can be lucky last. You can be the one that everyone will remember. I don't know why I said it as a threat.
That was a threat?
I don't know.
threat?
I looked him in the
That
eyes.
sounded
really.
like really touching, not threatening.
Okay, fine. I'll say it more touching. Jono, you're last. And you're going to be remembered for that, okay?
The best comes last.
Jesus.
Oh, the song at the credits of the first Metal Gear Solid. The best is yet to come.
Talking about the best is yet to come, the sequel to this movie. Why isn't there one? It all relates to the mastery of this film. The film was made with love and passion. This film had been gone through Hollywood for quite some time. Not this specific one, but the idea of doing this product. This product is a major staple for what it is. The original radio series, great. The TV show helped launch Bruce Lee, and Bruce Lee is one of those iconic figures of masculinity in film. And this movie, it has Seth Rogen in it, doing something unusual, something different. He's broadening his scope, because when we see comedic stoner actors like Franco and Rogen and all that, you know that deep down that they're really smart people who are really talented and have the ability to do something different. And I feel like, unfortunately, Seth Rogen got burnt with this project. He's gone back to what he does. He's very good at what he does, but this movie is a real experience and a real treat if you want to see Seth Rogen spread his wings. If you want to see a great supporting cast with Christoph Waltz, if you want to see a great Asian character that isn't played for jokes for him being Asian. It is a great movie. This movie is actually getting me emotional because of what it means to me. As I mentioned at the start, this is a transitioning movie for me. This is a symbol of my life, and I feel like people just don't appreciate it because Marvel, and because of the cinematic landscape, and because of Seth Rogen, and because of the lack of Nicolas Cage. This movie works. It is a tremendous effort upon their parts to balance all of these tones, to have a good choice for a director, one who's usually an art house director. And it really is going balls to the wall with what it is. It is going full speed with it. I love this movie. I love everyone involved in this, and I would proudly buy a ticket for the sequel to The Green Hornet. What would that be? We already said Adam Sandler's involved. Don't you want to see that? I know I do. If I have to give it a review, and Jono, we do have to. No, if I have to give it a rating, if I do have to give it another review, I would say it in my Adam Sandler voice. But if I have to give it a rating, which of course we do, I would say that my rating is one that is simple because the film is simple at heart, Bartek. I would give this a solid 5 Kevin James punching an executive for questioning Sandler. Out of 5.
Oh.
No, out of 5 concussions.
Oh, I see. So, Johnny, you don't have to make yours as long and as emotional as Ryan's one. But
if you don't, the sailor will come get you.
But feel free.
How about short and sweet?
Yeah, but feel free to.
Everyone loves short and sweet.
That's what all the boys tell you.
Feel free to, in your review, add some final observations that maybe you didn't bring up, or any final thoughts, just to conclude our whole discussion of the film.
Well, no, all I'm going to really is just reiterate what I basically said before. I actually was surprisingly shocked that this film was good. I think it's actually better than Iron Man 2 and 3.
Take that, Iron Man.
Guys. And basically, I actually kind of want to see the sequel as well, if there was one, with Adam Sandler.
Oh, how good would it be?
Yeah.
I do too.
And probably with Nicolas Cage as well.
Mm-hmm.
All right, yeah. Look, any movie where Nicolas Cage can play a white Jamaican gangster, I'm up for
Yes,
it.
exactly.
I kind of also want to listen to the audio commentary now that you've talked about it.
It is good.
More so than the Snow Day one.
But anyways, I would give this movie a rating of what's a ridiculous one? 3 Nicolas Cage breakdowns out of an Adam Sandler film.
Wow, that's a lot. Because
Yeah,
Adam Sandler
whoa.
films are pretty low.
Oh.
And Nicolas Cage is pretty high. I mean, not on drugs, obviously, but like on whatever juice he's taken.
Good rating. We did not think of that.
We did not think of that. So, this is the part where I read reviews from IMDb. I go through... Now, sometimes we get reviews that come from other dimensions in which they feel like it's from a dimension in which the movies that we are talking about are the cinematic landscape makers. But we don't live in that dimension. This week, we get some of that and more. I went for this week more reviews that kind of sum up the history of the project, what went wrong, why isn't it what it should be, and capturing the elements I knew that we would talk about. So the first one is a lower star review rating, which is 6 stars. It's called Campy, Corny, but Visually Entertaining. This was written in 2011, so, it's very important to know sometimes when these are written, because it's from, some of them are very fresh, and some of them are from a perspective of time. So, we'll dive straight in with Campy, Corny, but Visually Entertaining. 6 stars. I've been keeping my expectations low for this film, and I'm glad that I did. I was a big fan of the 60s television show, but I didn't watch any episodes until the mid-90s, so I've been waiting almost 15 years for a film adaptation on The Green Hornet.
Wait, hold on a second. He was a fan in the 60s or fan
Of the 60s shows when he watched in the mid-90s.
Oh, I see.
The film is campy, the story is corny, the villain is wasted, and Seth Rogen wrote the script. Based on the plot and the dialogues, it's not a well-made movie, but it doesn't try to be. This movie could have been written more seriously and be more on the same map as Christopher Nolan's Batman films.
style.
But instead, it went on the road to be a comedic film with a lot of explosions. Some stuff didn't work. Other stuff was clever and visually entertaining. The stuff that I admired the most are the homage to the original television show. There was some criticism to the 60s show about how the Kato character was just a sidekick, butler, manservant, and aide or chauffeur to the Green Hornet. Bruce Lee didn't have much dialogues and he didn't have much screen time. It was during the 60s and just having an Asian American to be an everyday character on a show was a big deal. So I never saw that as an insult. In this movie, they make a huge deal about that subject as Seth Rogen and Chou are constantly arguing about Kato's role throughout the whole film. Other homage to the television show is a drawn image of Bruce Lee, Al Hirt's theme, Flight of the Bumblebee tune, and there's even a scenario from my favorite episode that has been written into the movie. The Black Beauty, also a very awesome car. The funny thing is that in the TV show, the Black Beauty was a brand new and very recent 1966 Imperial Crown sedan. In the movie, it's the exact same vehicle, but now it's a classic vintage car. I saw the 3D version, and there were very few sequences where the 3D effects was worth the extra price of admission. I recommend saving your money and watch the 2D version instead. To finally sum everything up, the movie isn't good, but it brought back my love for the characters inside the Green Hornet world. The film is visually entertaining for what it is. I hope there's a sequel, but that somebody else will write its screenplay. So that was a bit of a...
What a blind fanboy.
The next one is also a 6-star review one. It's called The Hornet is Back.
Ooh.
You ready for this, guys? Because he's back.
Put on your seatbelts, gents.
I watched The Green Hornet with a sense of skepticism. Having grown up with the original TV series, this movie really had some big shoes to fill out, and surprisingly enough, it managed to do so in a good enough way. But there were also some aspects of the movie that were less than successful. First of all, Seth Rogen playing Britt Reed / The Green Hornet. No. I know he was involved in directing and writing the movie and all, but he is not chiseled out for an action role of this caliber. I do admire his spirit and enthusiasm, but he is more suited for comedy movies. Seeing him in this role didn't go well with me. He did bring along some comedy, but it didn't work so well in this practical movie. And the scene at the beginning where Britt Reed was bringing home a woman and they went through the garage and sat in all the cars, showing them off to the audience actually, in high-speed capture. What was up with that? Already at that point, the movie started to falter and crash. That was in the first 10 minutes.
Okay.
Chou playing Kato certainly had huge shoes to fill out after the original role was played by Bruce Lee, and actually Chou did a decent enough job with good acting and well choreographed action / fighting sequences. So hats off for him for that. However, the most memorable person in the movie was Christoph Waltz playing Chudnovsky. He was fantastic as a villain and worked his role very well and very convincingly. Plus, there was also a good sense of humor to his role, and it worked well. The story told in the movie was fast-paced, captivating, and interesting enough to keep you enthralled throughout the entire feature. For an action movie, then The Green Hornet is actually quite good. But for a follow-up to the legacy of the TV series, the movie is a mediocre attempt with good intentions, though. Had they cast someone else as Britt Reed, it would have worked much better. Now I'm not saying that Seth Rogen is a bad actor. He is just ill-suited for the role. The Green Hornet is good entertainment if you are in for an evening of action, corny one-liners, and a trip down memory lane.
Excuse me, but did he use the whole, now I'm not saying Seth Rogen's a bad actor thing twice?
Yeah.
And also, he's really denying that this is a comedy.
Yeah.
He really does not want to acknowledge
No,
that
there's
this
some
is a
people
comedy.
who didn't like this movie, guys. I know.
What?
Hold your breath. This is a 1-star review.
No.
It's from the United States. It's in 2011, so it was a dark time.
Bloody Americans.
Van Williams needs to open up a can of whoop ass. That's the name of the review.
Who?
Van Williams.
Okay.
We'll find out.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a bit of a long one, but it's worth it. As always.
Okay.
I'm getting sick of people who are angry with those of us who love the Green Hornet and want to defend the character from this piece of crap movie. Nobody knows him anyway, is what I hear a lot, but apparently enough of people in Hollywood knew of him, and that enough of the and thought enough of the name to use it as a way to sell tickets instead of just creating a new character. It is understandable that most people don't know very much about Green Hornet. He was created by George W. Trendle, who also created The Lone Ranger during the heyday of radio dramas. Britt Reed is actually a distant relative of John Reed, aka The Lone Ranger. Both were ahead of their time in so much as the heroes worked with their sidekicks, very unusual for their time period. The Lone Ranger with an Indian back in the Old West, and when the Green Hornet premiered in the 40s, it was unheard of for an Oriental sidekick. In the Old West, everyone thought the Lone Ranger was bad because he wore a mask. The Green Hornet purposely wanted people to think he was bad. Neither Tonto or Kato was written or intended to be subservient. Kato was Britt Reed's assistant as part of his cover. The Green Hornet is supposed to be a crime boss. That's why he sits in the back of the car. Not because he just wants Kato to drive around for him. Both men bring much to the partnership, and both are excellent fighters, just in different styles. Kato with martial arts and Britt with street fighting abilities. They are also closer than brothers. Van Williams and Bruce Lee understood this very well, and it came across in their screen time together. Even watching the old show now, there is no hint of Kato being lesser person to Britt Reed. Okay, history lesson over. Now go on. Yeah, history lesson over. Now onto this complete piece of trash. I actually have no problem with the initial portrayal of Britt Reed as a louse who parties all the time. The problem is he never grows up. If he had some redeeming qualities, it might have made him better. Perhaps a real talent for journalism, which he had in the radio and TV shows. A buddy relationship with Kato, or even the lovable rich rogue somewhat like Bruce Wayne. Seth Rogen has turned the Green Hornet into nothing more than a reject from Animal House. Why, after being nothing but a jerk to everyone, would Rogen's character all of a sudden want to fight crime? I don't know when we went from partners being friends to hating each other but working well together, but it's stupid. I don't even particularly care for the guy playing Kato. He's capable enough actor, but is nowhere near as cool as Bruce Lee. But that aside, there is absolutely no reason for him to like, much less work for Britt. We're supposed to believe that both of these guys hated Britt's dad so much that they are willing to work together, even though there is really nothing even to suggest they are more than rich guy / assistant. Lenore Case was not the mastermind behind the Green Hornet. She knew his identity and was able to cover for him and help him in his guise as Britt Reed. She was a necessary part of the team and actually had a crush on Britt, but not the all-controlling figure that we are supposed to believe she is in this movie. The bad guy, with a problem of not being scary enough, was great for about 10 minutes. He created some funny dialogue, but went on for an hour and a half too long. This guy wasn't even worth Kato's time, much less the Green Hornet. He could have been caught by TJ Hooker. Why do we need a superhero if the bad guy is not really bad? I'm not naming the other actors because I'm sure that by being in a movie with Seth Rogen is punishment enough. I wouldn't want my name associated with this film either. If you read this far, I will say there are some things I like.
Okay.
If you read this far, I would say there are some things I like. The homage to the TV series in costuming and design of the Black Beauty, as well as the switch in the garage, were a nice touch. There was even a great 30-second scene at the end with the old theme and logo popping up that doesn't last long enough. But it was nice to see. Sadly, this movie had so much promise. There are a lot of possibilities for this character, and Rogen didn't seem to like any of them. If you're going to make a movie about a doofus who becomes a superhero, fine. But why do you have to take established characters and destroy them? Please, do yourself a favor. Seek out the old series with Van Williams and Bruce Lee. So it's a much better use of your time.
Yeah, established characters like Chudnovsky, but no, he was boring.
So this is the last one. It's a 9-star review. It's called Oh My God. It has imagination, humor, and originality.
Sorry, what was the rating?
9 stars.
Oh.
Oh my God, it has imagination, humor, and originality. It stinks.
Oh, this guy, I like where he's going with
It's
this.
from Argentina as well, if you're really interested. If you think X-Men Origins Wolverine was an okay movie, then The Green Hornet is not for you. If, on the other hand, you enjoyed the hell out of stuff like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, then you may spend 2 great hours with this fresh and irreverent take on the old superhero. The Green Hornet answers the question, what if you gave an incredibly talented 10 years old kid a couple of $1 million to make an action-adventure movie? That's what Michel Gondry did. The film is full with all of his LP record player in the backside of the ejectable seats to enjoy some classic tunes while you surf the sky. Full of his beautiful creativity. If thinking outside the box scares you, if the thought of taking guys in spandex and crime fighting with masks not so seriously makes you cringe, then stay away from this. Otherwise, prepare yourself for some fun.
Take that previous review.
So that's it, guys. We did it. We talked about The Green Hornet, the cinematic classic. That's what we had to say on that. But hey, you guys could tell us something. You could give us a review and tell us your thoughts on our show and maybe even the movies themselves. You could drop us a line on our Facebook page, which is Spit and Polish Presents. Maybe you could even suggest a movie because, hey, Jono didn't see Green Hornet. Maybe we may not have done it. You know, if Bartek and I were lucky and unfortunate enough to see it, we may never talked about it. And there may be a movie you're sitting there going, ooh, and they're going to talk about that one. We never do it.
Tell us about it.
Tell us. You know, other than that, you guys, as always, have been fantastic, amazing, wonderful, splendiferous listening people.
What about sensational?
You know, not sensational enough. Not sensational
Getting
enough.
there.
Getting there. But, as always, remember to be kind to each other.
And Jono, you did well for your first time as a guest on the podcast. Happy to have you on some other time. Ryan, what do you think?
Well, it's his birthday. I think there's only one way to end this podcast.
Oh, I know. Okay, I'll do it.
I'm Popeye the Sailor Man! Popeye the Sailor Man! I'm strong to the finish cause I eat my spinach! I'm Popeye the Sailor Man!